Elephants in the Room.
Okay, so did you hear like the tapping?
Yeah,
the
it's
beating?
when my voice was getting too high.
Well, no, when it gets to the end, then you start.
Oh,
So like when you
so I
started,
start now.
it was yeah. So when you started, it wasn't even. It hadn't gone into it yet.
Hi guys, welcome back to Elephants in the Room. I have some really exciting guests here with me. As you guys can see, I am here with Hayd and David Kushner. I'm going to introduce them to you guys. If you don't know who they are, I'm sure you do. David is a 22-year-old singer-songwriter from Chicago. He's signed to Virgin Music, a distribution service label for independent artists. David has over 2.5 monthly listeners on Spotify and over 2.2 million social media followers across Instagram and TikTok. David toured with Lauv, opened his first 3 headliners in the top 3 major cities, and generated over 180 million streams on Spotify in the past 12 months. And he is also my boyfriend, so that's kind of cool.
Wow.
I know. It's been a long time coming since he's come on here.
You said for monthly listeners, you said 1 or 2.4 something, but you didn't say million.
I didn't say million.
So,
only 2.4. Yeah. And me and Hayd are the
2.5 people, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Hayd is a 21-year-old singer-songwriter from Michigan. He's signed to Interscope Records. In the last 2 years, he's accumulated 1.4 billion global streams with viral songs like Head in the Clouds, Changes, and Closure. And he now lives in Los Angeles. By the way, Head in the Clouds, that music video is phenomenal. Everyone go watch it.
Thank you.
But yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Let's talk about how we know Hayd, because obviously you guys know how I know David. Why are you laughing, David?
Nothing.
What's your problem?
Nothing. I'll tell you later.
What?
Nothing. I farted.
Just tell me.
David!
Oh. You know what? We're not going to cut that out because this is Elephants in the Room, so we are vulnerable on here. We're honest. David's probably going to fart like 20 more times.
That was our one rule before we started.
Because I started taking beef liver pills I take now.
David takes beef liver pills. David takes beef liver pills.
Yep.
And they give him terrible gas.
Yeah.
And his farts are the type that just like linger and they fill a room. They fill every space that's possible.
Yes. And they don't die down for like 20 minutes. It just really...
We've been begging David to stop taking his beef liver pills, but
yep,
he hasn't.
Anyways, so yeah, that's a little bit about Hayd and David Kushner. But yeah, how we know Hayd, it's actually funny because when me and David were first dating, before everything blew up with Miserable Man for David, we were huge fans of Hayd. And they ended up becoming friends. And now they live together. We're actually in their house as we speak. So yeah, we're super excited to get into it. But as you guys know, this podcast is all about just being real, being vulnerable, being honest. So I'm going to just ask you guys some questions. So yeah, let's just do it.
Word.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Sounds so fun.
Okay. I'm going to start with you, Hayd. So obviously it's the same set of questions for both of you, but I'm going to ask for your answer first on this one. Okay. Take us back to the beginning. When did your journey into the music industry start?
I always played the piano growing up. So ever since I was like 3 or 4, I took piano lessons. So I always played the piano. And then I also really liked writing poetry and reading. I was a big reader as a kid, which I feel like poetry and playing the piano are the 2 ingredients for writing songs, but they didn't mix. Like I didn't write songs until I was in high school. I went through a breakup, which maybe is like the genesis of every artist go through a breakup, but then all of a sudden I felt all these strong emotions, and then people like would ask me, "Oh, how are you doing?" And it's kind of hard to put, like, sometimes words don't do it justice, how you feel. Like it's kind of hard to like simply explain how you feel like in a tangible way, but music can do that because it just the emotion in music. So anyway, I started writing songs just as an emotional outlet. So I was writing all these sad breakup songs, and so I just put them on SoundCloud. I didn't really think anything of it. It wasn't like I was necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna get signed. I'm gonna do this for my work, for my job. But I started putting them on SoundCloud, and then I started putting them on YouTube. And basically early on, like even now, but 3 or 4 years ago, so this is all like 3 or 4 years ago, lyric channels were really big on YouTube. And so I got like all their emails. And so I would just send out mass emails. I'd literally copy and paste the same email and I'd just switch out their names. And it would basically be like, hey, I'm Hayd. This is my new song. This is a little bit about me. This is a little bit about the song. I'd send it to all these channels and then they would start posting my music. And they had millions of subscribers. I had like 2 subscribers at this point. So I basically just did that. And so every time I had a new release, I would just email them, and I built up relationships with all these different lyric channels to the point where now they're posting all of my music, and then that helped me grow a little bit. So that was a start. Like it really started on YouTube, and then in 2020, like during quarantine, that's when I started posting on TikTok, and then like you have viral videos, viral sounds, viral songs, and then that led to me getting signed. But it also just allowed me to be able to do it full time and also just reach a wider audience. And then it was like kind of around that time, well, maybe a little later, but when I met David. But yeah, cool. that's kind of the awesome. Simplified story.
I actually didn't know that. That's cool. I had no idea. So yeah, you're 21 now. So you were how old when you were like emailing over the songs to? I was probably
like 17 or 18.
Very
cool. It was when I was a junior in high school or or senior in high school. It was before TikTok was mainstream because I remember like at that point TikTok, I don't know if it was still Musical.ly, but it was just kind of cringe if you had TikTok. So like some of my friends in high school had TikTok, and at that point it was just dancing videos, so it was really kind of cringy. So we'd always make fun of them, and so it's pretty funny that like full circle TikTok is like kind of how we really helped accelerate our catalyst for everything. Careers. So.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Hayd. Yeah, that's so cool. All right, David, same question for you. I know this answer, but take us back to the beginning. When did your journey into the music industry start?
Hello, I'm David Kushner. My journey began, I liked singing growing up, and I would sing with all my 4 sisters. I would sing Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, Eminem, till I collapse from spilling these raps. Wrong as you. I was trying to remember the lyrics, but I forgot. And so I would sing, and then I would go to their concerts with them, like Jonas Brothers, and I would just tag along. And then I really loved music growing up, and just fell in love with it as I did those things with my family and my sisters, and then got guitar lessons in 4th grade. My sisters got piano lessons. So like my parents kind of put us through a very musically inclined upbringing, I guess. Not like too much, just like they made my sisters do piano lessons and they got me guitar lessons. But we wanted to, like it was fun. And then, fast forward, there was nothing really else like in between like middle school and stuff. It was really high school, kind of coming towards the end of high school. I just started taking singing more seriously, and
you took singing lessons, right?
Yeah, and then high school ended, and then I got a vocal coach, and I was because I'm from outside of Chicago, so I would commute back and forth from the suburbs to the city every day, do vocal lessons, and then I was god awful at singing. So I was
That's not true. That's not true.
I was really. I'm all right now. I got some more work to do. But, just did some lessons, and I was just working. I didn't go to college. And then I started joining TikTok like Hayd. And then I started posting and gaining a platform just like through other things. I was like doing motivational videos, and I was posting like trends. And then I was also doing like some cringy stuff that like we're not gonna talk about.
Guys, everyone go down to the bottom of David's TikTok and watch the videos. I promise you won't regret it.
Don't go down to the bottom.
You start like on TikTok. You kind of started as like a
influencer.
Yeah, kind of like an influencer, but it was it was like mental health. Like you were encouraging people with mental health stuff.
Totally.
And you had a bunch of followers from that.
Yeah. It was cool.
How many followers did you have before? Like before music, you were at like about 1 million, right?
Yeah, like I hit 1 million in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And then, and then just in between that posting, like I started end of 2019, and then like all the way through 2020, I was just behind the scenes, like still working on music, doing voice lessons, learning guitar on YouTube. Like, I've never gotten a guitar lesson, like, since I started it again. And yeah, I just knew that that's what I was really passionate about, and I wanted it to be that. I wanted that to be my thing. And it was hard, but I kept going, and then started writing my original songs eventually, and like started to explore that. And then I released my first song in 2021. It's called Illy. And then
Illy?
Yeah,
Illy.
like I Love You.
That was the one that did really well on TikTok.
Yeah, and then I just kind of transitioned the brand from like, influencer, speaker, whatever you want to call it, to like artist, and it was going really well. And I kind of just had the whole vision in my head for it, and then just kept writing, and then and then I wrote Miserable Man and kind of had like a moment on TikTok, and then I wrote Mr. Forgettable, and then it's been really awesome. It's been really good. So
yeah.
And then now I'm in LA. Just moved here.
But when did we met?
We met in
November, like when Miserable.
Yeah, you guys met right when Miserable Man was coming
out. I FaceTimed each other.
Yeah, I remember. Which I'll just say, just to hype David up, and I'm not just saying this because I'm his girlfriend, but I started dating David right when he really started pursuing music, and this kid put in so much time and effort and hard work. He would sit in a room for hours just by himself trying to develop his sound. He doubted himself so much, and even when he wrote Miserable Man, like, he didn't even think it was that good. And then, here we are now. So he's worked very hard, and I'm sure Hayd has as well. So it's really cool to see, which both of these guys, by the way, I know you guys don't know them personally, but I do, and they're both very humble, kind, gentle, just amazing, genuine people. And it's really hard to find those people in this space, and I've experienced a lot of people who aren't like that. So I'm very grateful to know both of them, but they're both really amazing men.
That's sweet.
So yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to the next question. Hayd, what song, album, EP, or project of yours means the most to you, and why?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, like, musicians, I've heard a lot of different musicians say this, but it is kind of true. Like, every song you make is kind of like your child in a weird way. Like, you have attachments to everyone, because at least I'll speak for myself. I bet it's the same with David. He's falling asleep over here. But like, you have attachments to all these songs that you make because they hold special meaning. Are you okay?
Oh, I was just
Did you fart again?
No, I was just saying you rubbed my head.
Sorry. Anyway, my song. So, because every song has like a special meaning in it. It brings you back to a certain time in your life. So that's like the cliche answer of like, they all mean a lot to me. But I mean, like, my song Changes was the song that, like, pun intended, changed my life. I feel like that was the song that means the most to me, just because up until that point, I didn't, like, I still make music for fun, but I'd never I mean, maybe I did. It's hard to remember because it was a few years ago, but I don't think I ever like really believed like, oh, I'm gonna be able to make music.
Same.
And not because I didn't have belief in myself, but just because I'm aware that it's very cutthroat and like it is like skill and hard work, but also there is like just like kind of luck and opportunity and timing, and it's just out of your hands.
Right.
And so I wasn't like, oh, like, this song's gonna be the one. I didn't think anything of Changes, because pretty much the story behind that is, up until that point, I was just putting out songs, and I was in high school, and it was whatever. I got made fun of a lot in high school for the songs I was putting out. But Changes, I started writing that song. I wrote the chorus of it. I think I was playing it for you guys, like that first voice memo the other day.
Yeah.
But it had
so
like,
cool.
it was me, I'm going through changes, but I swear I'm the same. And so the story.
What a line, by the way. Holy crap.
The story is kind of cool behind it, because basically, this was summer of 2020. And basically, again, I didn't think anything of this song, but I was posting on TikTok every single day for a month. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to post my song every day on TikTok for a month, just my music. And if one of them goes viral, one of them goes viral. So it got to a point where I was posting for 2 weeks in a row. So I posted 14 different songs. And then I was going on a camping trip with all my friends up north in Michigan, like in the Upper Peninsula. And so I posted Changes, and I like turned off my phone, and I didn't go on social media for days because I'm camping. So little did I know, like, the video blew up but I had no idea because
That's
I was
crazy.
camping with all of my friends until one of the last days. There also wasn't that good of
How
signal.
long were you there?
Probably like 4 days or 5 days. Or no, yeah, it's probably like 5 or 6 days. So like 3 or 4 days in, I got signal and I went back on my phone. And then I just was getting texts from my mom and my
That's
friends. And they're
crazy.
like, we just saw your video. And I was like, what is going on? So up until this point, all of my TikToks had like 100,000 views or less.
Mm-hmm.
And they would like my first videos all consistently got like 10,000 views or something. And then it was like 30,000 but none had been over 100,000. And so this was one, it got over 1 million. I'm trying to remember what the video was.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just me. Oh, I made like a montage to my friends and it was just like, you know,
Wow.
I moved, like I'm growing apart from my friends or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't I mean, you could check and see. It's on my TikTok
Yeah,
somewhere.
we'll have to go look at it.
But yeah, but it was changes. It was the chorus and it blew up. And so then I went on my phone when I was camping and we were just scrolling. My best friend, Andrew, and I were just scrolling in a hammock, just scrolling through the comments. Like we just thought it was so cool because
Yeah.
there's so many comments like, what's going on? And then I was like, dang, I should probably finish this song because I only had the chorus. So then, sorry, you asked me like, I'm giving you such a long
you are
answer to
giving
this
the
question.
right answer. Yes, no, this is perfect.
This is just like the story
This is
behind
what a podcast
changes.
is for, Hayd,
Fair
to
enough.
just
Yeah, I
like
know.
really talk.
Yeah, but like I'm trying to gauge like how long should my
Yeah.
answers be, but I'll say it. So anyway, I come back from camping. I post another one of the chorus. That one goes viral too. And so
Wow.
I was like, okay, I know like this song is special and it like relates to people. And this is the first song that I actually feel like people can like it will reach a lot of people. You know, I never really felt like that from my first songs because I wasn't on TikTok. I was just posting on YouTube.
Right.
And there wasn't like exponential growth like there is on TikTok. Anyway, I felt kind of stuck though. So this is the end of August 2020. I felt kind of stuck because I had all this pressure on me to finish Changes because I knew it had a lot of potential and I knew a lot of people love the chorus. So I put all this pressure on myself like, oh, I have to make it this great song. And so the story behind it, and this is fun because I don't think I've told you guys this story. And, but basically, I lived with my parents on the beach on Lake Michigan. So I went up a sand dune and I just brought my journal and I was just like, I'm just going to write poetry. I'm just going to try to figure out like the verses. Like I'm just going to try to finish writing the rest of the song. And I just couldn't do it for the life of me. Like I tried so long. I was just like writing all these ideas and it wasn't like, they were probably fine ideas too. It's not like they were terrible, but they just
weren't.
they just weren't right.
Yeah.
And I had all this pressure on me that I was putting on myself. And so anyway, I went back home having not written really anything. And I just felt like defeated because I was like, maybe I'm just, it's not going to be that good of a song or it's not going to reach people or whatever. And so literally that night in my room, I was actually just like crying, to be honest, like kind of crying and praying. I was like, God, like I thought this, like, is this going to be a big song? Like there's all this pressure. And I've never had this happen with the song. So that's why it's so meaningful because it really did feel like supernatural and divine. But as I was crying, I just went to the piano in my room and I literally sung the whole song through. Like within 4
Holy
minutes,
crap.
like the whole song was written. Like it just like, you like the other, like when we were flowing, just writing song, like it didn't even feel like I wrote it. It felt more like I was receiving it. And so then I just like the verse like done in 2 minutes, second verse done, and then pre-chorus done. And then that night I cut vocals and it was done. Like the song was just done.
Crazy.
And then the next day I posted it on my TikTok and that was like my, up until Closure, like that was my biggest viral video. Like that was the one, me sitting in my room, like with the flashing lights. And that was the one then like all these labels started reaching out. And so it's a really cool moment because I really felt so defeated. And then like truly I felt like it just like I received that song and I just like kind of cried and wrote it over my piano. And then I just knew, I was like, this is like a really special song.
Which I'm sure you guys have heard Changes. Do you mind maybe like humming the chorus a little bit so like people
Yeah. So it's like, I'm going through changes, but I swear I'm the same. Could you show me some patience along the way?
Bro sounds like the exact record.
What? Guys, you've heard that song. I know everyone listening to this has heard that song. So this is the man,
Well, I don't know
the
about
myth,
that,
the
but-
legend behind the song. No, but that song is very special, and even
wild.
very special to me. I mean, I've probably cried to your music many times in my life. But that's such a cool story. And
If you've ever cried to Hayd's music, drop a like and a comment.
Yeah, drop a like and a
subscribe.
comment. But, it's cool because it's just cool to hear, like, the story behind it and, like, just know how much it means to you. And it's so crazy, like, how much I've seen David and now just kind of hearing your story, like, how much you guys doubt yourself and stuff. But it's really cool to see when it's right and when the right lyrics come out, it's like you just know. And it's just this feeling, which I want to kind of take it back to ask you, in that moment when everything happened with Changes, that night when you checked your phone on social media, and then also when you finish it, what was that feeling like? When artists go through that, I can't imagine, like, what does that feel like? What's going through your head when you open your phone and you have millions or thousands of people loving something that means so much to you?
I mean, it's a high for sure. Like it's a rush. That's maybe the best word to explain it. Like it's a rush because you're just, I'm dragging and like, what do you call it? Like refreshing the page and there's all these comments and likes and it's like, oh my gosh, like
it's
look
like
at
a
me.
lot.
It's kind of like you're on cloud nine.
Yeah.
But of course with a high, like it
The
goes
lows come.
away. So like, like for those 3 days, it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like I'm the most famous person on the planet, which is so not true, but it makes you feel that way. It's like, it's just this rush. And also it's kind of like this, it feels like fulfilling in the sense of like you put in work to write this song and it's like fulfilling to see it reach people
see
and
your
like
hard work pay
actually
off.
impact people in a really good way. Like seeing people comment or just saying like this song, like save me, or this song is exactly what I'm going through. Like it's wild. It just like you realize there's so many people out there, and like even though I'm a kid in my bedroom making music by myself, like millions of people are now hearing it. So it's definitely a high for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then it goes away, and then you chase the next one, and it's like this cycle.
Which I know, David, you can relate to that. Do you want to speak on that a little bit? Like the high of like, I was with David when like Miserable Man blew up, and it was so crazy. Like every day, I swear, this like a new video would get like millions of streams.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's crazy.
It was like my head was in the clouds or something.
Oh,
Nice.
Did you see what I did there?
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, David. Well, you have to answer that question too. So, what song, album, EP, or project of yours means the most to you, and why?
Well, I only got one EP.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but you have a lot of songs. I mean, you can choose one song.
No, I know, it's just funny.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. Like, what song means the most to you?
I'm trying to guess what he's gonna say. I don't know.
I feel like
It's
it'd be
hard
Miserable
'cause
Man,
I agree
no?
with Hayden. Like each one is so different.
The new one we wrote, Daylight or whatever. Just kidding.
Oh yeah, there's a new
kidding.
song we wrote that's really good. Coming soon.
But Miserable Man, no? Is it not?
yeah, I usually always say Miserable Man.
Why?
Probably because, I mean, number one, it was like the first song that did really well for me, and that kind of started like a whole new season in my life, but also started a whole new like sound for me as an artist. And yeah, just the chorus to me is like still, I think, just like the best chorus I've ever written. I think it's just like the most relatable I've written, because I think we all feel lost sometimes. And
Totally.
what?
But I just have my song. It's like, I'm lost. Like, I'm like, I've
I'm
been
doing
there
all
for
these
sure.
Hayd references, by the way.
They're in sync.
Yeah, like we'll feel that way in whatever regard that is. Because I wrote it about that, like kind of feeling out of place, or maybe there's like a small town you grew up in, which is kind of the story behind it, is like these two people from a small town and they want to get out because like it doesn't feel like home anymore. Like maybe wherever your home is, like you kind of lose it in a way, like it kind of doesn't feel like home anymore. I don't know. For me, I was traveling all the time, trying to pursue music. I would come here to LA, like when I didn't live here, always working with people, writing songs, and, just on my grind, trying to, trying to make it happen, I guess. And then, it became really hard, and I felt super out of place and just scared of the uncertainty of like, dang, like, what if this doesn't work out? And I just kind of settle for, a more stable, regular job, because, like, money's not stable when you're trying to be an artist and all that stuff. But with that being said, so that's kind of what I wrote that course about, is like, I just felt like, where I grew up in Chicago, I like lost touch with that as like my home, because I was gone all the time, and I was like, where do I like, I didn't feel settled anywhere. And and like I also wrote about my faith and like being a Christian, and like it was kind of like a message to myself, the chorus, of just like, I parted from like my old ways of like not believing in God, and like I make my identity in my faith in like Jesus and stuff.
Wow.
And that's like a personal meaning. And and then the story of the song, though, is like this fictional boy and girl kind of run away, and they kind of create their own life, and then it kind of ends like happy, like they have kids, they built their own house, like they have a dream house. And it's kind of like the journey of, I don't know, I've explained it different times, like the journey of what people will call like the American dream, like wanting to have freedom, which essentially that's like what it is, I guess. And like they kind of end up making it happen, and they have a beautiful family, like they're at the dinner table, and they kind of like have this moment of realization, like, which is in the second verse, of like, dang, like we made it, like we really took that risk, and like we made our own, we like found our home. And like, so it's like a lot of different cross meanings. But I would say just that would be the third thing, is just like the meanings behind it, and the meanings even personally and stuff. And
it's cool hearing you say, like, share personally how it is about your faith too, because I think you told me that before, but I feel like when I would say most people, when they hear that, it's just the emotion of loss, kind of like an acceptance, like with the course, that's why we parted. I feel like on TikToks and stuff, it's like people accept, like it's like leaving someone and accepting that kind of, so that like that's what people relate to, I think. So it's cool hearing you share like also the personal meaning of like your walk and your spiritual journey.
Exactly.
That's sick.
That is an interesting way to think about it. It's like what originally was home, you're like parting from it to find your actual home. And
it's also just
that's cool.
It's also just cool that music is interpreted differently by everyone.
Absolutely.
That's so cool, because likewise, I have songs that have such like
intricate,
meaningful, they mean so much to me, and like a lot of times too on such a deep like spiritual level, or some of these songs are like me just like crying out to God, and but no one, like people don't know that,
right?
But they're taking it and they're applying it to their own life, and it's so cool, because like it's just so cool how people can take a song and like it can impact
well, you apply it
people.
to your like situation of what you're going through and your emotions. So that's it's so powerful about music. I love that. It's so cool. You guys have such cool stories. Though. Okay, so obviously you guys have had a lot of highlights in your career, a lot of really big, cool moments. But since we're on Elephants in the Room and we're talking about like real deep stuff, what are some of the lows of your career, and how has that impacted you? Like there's a lot of stuff that you guys go through that you don't talk about on your social media or share, because it's scary to talk about those things. So what are some things that you guys have experienced that have really shaken you up and really like left you, in a deep, dark place? Because with those highs, like you're going to experience lows. You don't go through those highs and then not experience hard times. I almost feel like for people like you guys, the average person who works like a 9 to 5 and doesn't have the situation that you guys have, I don't feel like they go through as deep of lows, because they're not used to this like really high. They haven't experienced that like crazy feeling of success and all these different things. So so do you want to start, Hayden, maybe talk about some lows that you've gone through?
Thank you. Great question. I mean, everyone has their own demons and like in lows that they have to face. Probably for me, it was probably last year. I've talked about it a little bit like on my Instagram, but I don't know if people know like to the depths of like how I just felt really lonely last year, because I grew up my whole entire life in Michigan with my family and my friends. And even college, like I was going to community college. So I was still living with my parents and I was seeing my friends. And then within a year, like I had gotten signed, and so I was making music full time, and I was just living at home now. So I got my 2-year degree of college, and then I stopped going to college. And like within a year, truthfully, like all of my friends got married, every single one, all like, you know, like objectively pretty young, and I'm really happy for them. I'm not saying that like I'm, you know, like I'm salty about that. I'm not at all. But they just all got married. And so I just felt so alone, because like, I didn't see my friends. And then, so it kind of got to a point like in 2021, I said last year, but I'm just giving I'm prefacing a little bit. So I was like, I talked to my dad, and I was like, I need to move. I think I need to move, because I'm just spending all this time in my room making music, and I just feel really lonely because I don't see any of my friends. Like I love my family and I'm so close with them. But I'm just in my room like all the time. And I loved college because I feel like naturally I'm maybe more of an extrovert, and I love conversating with people. And so I loved college. But then COVID hit. So it was like all these things. And so I was like, man, I need to move. And I had no idea what to expect, because I had never been on my own before. And so in moving from Michigan to Los Angeles is like, it's pretty far, you know, it's like as far away as I could move in the country. And so, sorry, that's to preface, my low really was last year. Like last summer was, last summer was really a low spot for me, because I moved in January to LA. In the first few months, it's exciting, right? Like you came like right away, and we were writing Burn and all of these songs, and that was fun. And then I went on tour with Sarah Kay's, and so like that stuff's all fun. But if after that, like in the summer, it just hit me that I'm like, man, I'm so alone. Like I don't see my family anymore. My older brother has a daughter. I have a niece that's growing up, and I'm just not a part of her life. Like I came home one time and she looked like she had never seen me before. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so I'm watching my niece grow through Instagram. Like my little brother is, again, I'm just so close with my family, and my little brother is now like 16, 17. He's starting to date a girl, and he's going through some hardships, and I'm not there for him I'm just not there for him. And same, you know, with my parents. And so that's like just hard, because I'm like, it was my choice to leave. And just on top of that, I didn't see I was losing touch with my friends. And again, it's not like because there's an argument. It was just when you're that far away from people, you're just really not a part of their lives anymore. So anyway, I say all that it climaxes to basically, I felt so alone in the summer. I felt like I had nobody. And so like there was a lot of nights just crying, like in my bed, really just crying, because I was like, what am I doing? And I remember too, like I just felt like I had nobody, and I was like, well, I still, you know, I was gonna call my manager at the time to like talk through things with him, because I'm like, I'm still just so young. And anyway, like then that phone call, he, like my manager, like was like, I don't want to manage you anymore. And there was like different reasons, and we parted ways, and we're still on good terms. But anyway, felt like everyone was just like, out of
you
my
just felt
life.
very isolated.
Yeah, I felt so isolated, especially because in our line of work too, like it's, how do I word this? We kind of have to go out of our way maybe to like see people.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's easy for us to, you know, like, I don't know if I've left the house in like 3 days, because you know, we're just like making music and
absolutely,
and eating here. So it's like,
it's different when you have like a traditional job, or like you go to college, like you're forced to go out and see people. And for you guys, it's like,
it's weird. We have like all the time in the world, but at the same time we don't.
Well, it just like comes and goes in waves. Yeah. Like, you know, during tours or like during shoots or anything like that, they're just so busy, you know, like every day. But again, like this week, it's like I'm just chilling at home. So I just felt really alone. I felt really lost. Like even when I would cry out and pray to God, I felt like even then, like he was silent, or maybe just at the time I wasn't like in a low enough spot to like be able to listen to what he was saying to me.
Right.
That was like such a low that maybe people can relate, like to an extent, you know, going away to college, or like when you leave your family for the first time, like it's you kind of figure out who you are. So I would say, like, if you really want to know what's in your heart, move away from, I'm not encouraging people to do this, but like, I mean, if you really want to know like who you are, like move away from your home, your family, your friends, and how you act and how you spend your time and how you talk will just kind of expose and show what is in your heart.
Totally.
And so, it was really low, but I last year I've grown more like as a person through all the lows last year than I ever have. Like I just feel like a totally different, but in a such better, like just a more mature like state than I was before. So
like you feel like more authentically yourself for the right reasons, I guess. Like you've developed who you are for just
totally.
you.
Like I think I know who I am apart from my home now and apart from my family. And also I feel like God just really humbled me by like just bringing me so low. So I think that was also good to where now I'm like, man, I don't know how to explain it. Other than like, I just feel like humbled, and I feel like when people are humbled, it's always a good thing.
No, absolutely.
You know,
I think like any huge change we go through in our lives, and like, I don't know, I feel like people don't talk about that enough. Like when you do get to this age, like your early 20s, and you're so used to like your life that you have, your friends, and then all of a sudden you're all taking these different life paths. And like for you, you're doing something very unconventional. You know, you're not married, you're not in school anymore.
Totally.
And so it's like you grow apart, and it's really weird. Like I experienced that when I got my divorce. Like I remember I used to be like, oh my gosh, everyone like has kids and is getting married when I'm getting divorced. Like it's so weird because you feel like so out of touch with your surroundings and the people that you feel close to. And so yeah, it's a very weird time. I feel like people don't talk about that enough, but it's definitely very isolating. And so, especially for you guys, because what you do is so cool, and there's a lot of perks to what you guys do, but it also is.
There's so much pressure, like all the time. And I know like it's a lot of it's probably we put on ourselves, truthfully, but like there's just so much pressure to succeed, to make music that's better than your music previously, to have viral moments, things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I love that. All right, David, you're up. What have some of the lows of your career been?
That's a great question, Nicole.
Real quick. Brent, can you please get me some
water? Yeah, guys, let's just get our crew in here real quick. We've got Brent Shows in the building, David's manager, and then Sterling. Come say hi. Come say hi, Sterling. We got Sterling in the building.
Stir sauce.
Come say hi. We have Sterling here. Yeah, we're just getting deep on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. After this, we're gonna go get ice cream.
Our contraption.
The setup. It's so good.
Hey,
David.
Yeah, it's all good. Anyway, David, sorry.
So yeah, David, tell us about some of the lows of your career. And I mean, this can be anything. Lows of like your career itself, or like maybe your mental health throughout your career. Again, I know like all the answers to these, but like tell everyone else who's listening.
Like not any like specific time frame, just like
like any time since you've pursued music.
Yeah, within the last year and a half.
All right.
Yeah. Let's go.
The first time I started writing with my best friend from Chicago, where I grew up. And it was great. We were writing some awesome songs, some bangers lad, and they were pretty decent. And then I released some of them, and then it kind of just went bad because like me and him didn't know much about the music industry, as far as like, you know, there's like a business side to everything, I guess. We didn't know much. And then eventually we find stuff out, you know, as we grow and we learn more about, you know, what we're trying to do. And then disagreements started happening because I involved him in everything. I would fly him to LA with me. Like I would pay for him, like all that stuff. Because we were like a little squad, I guess, you know, like just writing songs and all that stuff. And he was also my best friend. And the disagreements came along, and then that's kind of when the downfall started happening. So I guess I'll preface, like, there was like a falling out. So that was the start of it, was the disagreements. Yeah, and then just true colors started showing. He just started treating me differently, and just like kind of showed me kind of that he wasn't in it for the right reasons. And it was just disagreements of like, oh, you know, I should own half of your blah, 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 because, you know, and everything he wanted, like, was something he wasn't going to get because it didn't make any sense. And then it just, long story short, just a bunch of arguments like that, and then it just turned into him like, F you, you know, mother effer, whatever. Like, really bad, really sad. And it really affected me.
It's like
and
a bad fallout between.
Yeah, it's like a breakup, basically. Like, we were ready for over, like,
would you say he's like one of your closest friends at that point, or like?
Oh yeah, he was my only friend. Same thing. Wow. I was just very lonely. Everybody was in college.
Yeah, hey, like when I met David, they were like a tag team. Like he literally went everywhere with us. Like it was crazy to see that happen.
Yeah, and I was at home in Chicago, and sisters all left the house. I was the only boy because I have four sisters, and then I have an older brother, a half brother, but I didn't really ever grow up with him that much. Only when I was like a baby, really, like a toddler. And I was like the only one at home. And it was weird because then we were fine, and then we just started falling out, and then he just started treating me really poorly, and then it kind of just turned into me just, you know, being like, all right, like, we need to separate and just get space, and just like, but it wasn't even that thought. I was just like, I'm done. Like, this is wild. Like, this is crazy.
But you were also, sorry to like cut you off.
No, you're good.
David was very patient and gave a lot of grace and a lot of chances, because I think he really wanted things to work because they were so close. And like David really went through it. Like, that was really hard to see him. Like, it was very hard. It was very bad.
Yeah.
And so it was like kind of a season of intense loneliness for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that happened. Like, even when I started social media, and then, you know, me and him started writing songs, like, yeah, I had like a big spiritual crisis. Like, I was doubting like my faith and stuff.
Dang.
And yeah, like a lot of.
What was it that got you out of that? So sorry.
I don't know. There's a lot of different things. That the worst of that was like right before we started writing songs. It kind of started to heal and get better. I don't know. I was just like doubting God, and if he was really there. Oh, if he's not real, like, I want to do whatever I want and like sin, basically.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's what it was, because I was like gaining a platform, and then I like realized like, oh dang, like, this is like a very, like, you can become a very powerful person, a very powerful influence in the world, like, by gaining a following like this. Mm-hmm. And then I think it was that just started to make me doubt, because like my flesh wanted to be God myself and like do whatever I wanted to. So like personal stuff like that, as far as faith and religion, and I would say it was just, I basically just took it more serious because I knew that God was there. I always held on to the scripture in the Bible of like Jeremiah 29:13, like, you'll seek me and find me when you seek me with your whole heart. And then I was just like, okay, God, like, even though you seem absent and all that stuff, or like, you don't seem real, like, I'm just going to keep pursuing you. And like, hopefully this all gets better. Cause like,
wow,
I'm miserable, and like,
miserable man.
Yeah, miserable man. And like, life is pointless. Like, yeah, just really bad, depressing thoughts. I don't have depression. I know some people struggle with that. But I was very depressed at the time, and like, yeah, just really, really bad thoughts. I wasn't sleeping, like barely sleeping. I was super stressed. Like, I was grinding my teeth every night. Like, if I did sleep, like, that's how bad it was. And like, my face got super fat. Yeah, like, I have pictures of it and everything. And I was having panic attacks all the time, and it was solely just because of my faith and like doubting. It was just the purpose of life, and like, it was just like a spiritual, you know, crisis.
That sounds like you're kind of going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this all happened like right before everything with music. This was like after social media took off for you and you were like, I don't know what I believe in.
Yeah, exactly. But after going through, like, I knew it was God and it was the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Because God talks about Abraham and how he always, like, thought about death. And, like, he always thought about these deep things. And, God also says that, like, people who don't think about those things, like, I get, like, essentially it's just like it's not wise to not think about those things because they're very important things, like, you know, what happens after we die, like all this stuff,
like asking the bigger questions.
Yeah, and that's what was happening. And then I saw what God was saying about Abraham and the things that he would think about, and I was like, that's literally what God is doing to me, and like that's what's happening to me. I would say during like Miserable Man, I guess, era. I don't know.
Can you hum the song for everyone so they know what it is? They're gonna know,
guys.
but you know.
So the song, it's like, all we wanted was a place to feel like home. Was that good, Sterling?
So good.
That was good.
Better than the original,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Let's go.
Sorry, carry on. So Miserable Man, some lows during Miserable Man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, life then, which was not that long ago, you know, like a year or whatever. It was a really like high, you know, that Hayd was kind of saying, you know, there's a lot of highs in the music industry and like within your career and like different success that you have amongst different things. Like, yeah, I was on a really big high, and yeah, but after that, I started traveling even more. Like, it got even more harder from when I was trying to make this happen, you know? And then I was sleeping, like, even worse. Like, it was so bad. Yeah, it was just all the stress and, like, the pressure and the expectations and, like how Hayd was saying, like, all these record labels will reach out to you, and then you know, you got to go travel and meet everybody, and you have meetings, and, you know, they're basically all here in Los Angeles.
Yeah. But the stress is that, like, everyone wants to go down the perfect road, but the struggle is like, you obviously sometimes you just don't know what the right choice is. So there's stress because, like, especially I mean, anyone really can relate to that, but especially in music, there's a lot on the line because this is like your career and this dictates a lot of different things. So everyone wants to go down the perfect road, especially an artist, and you just have all these options, and it's really hard to. Yeah, it's
100%.
stressful. It's just really stressful. And it's isolated and lonely.
Yeah, and I think
it's tough.
And I think that's an interesting point because it reminds me of, I was talking to some of my best friends that live here in LA like the other week about how, like, a lot of things, like, I'm sure a lot of you watching have prayed, like, a lot of the things you pray for and, like, you get blessed with and that you receive can actually become, like, a detriment to your life in a negative way still. Like, I feel like people think it's a perfect, you know, scenario. Oh my gosh, once I make this scenario happen, you know, I'll be happy, or I'll be, you know, whatever it is, but it's just not true at all. Yeah, and yeah, that reminds me of like basically just like another low is like once me and Nicole have been dating longer than, you know, when my music career actually kind of like started to have more and more success, I guess. Like, started dating Nicole, like, it's been amazing ever since we started dating each other, and like music happened, and then, like, you know, I have an amazing girlfriend, like, I have an amazing career happening, and then it like made me super depressed and sad because of like self-sabotage reasons. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff.
I mean, do you kind of mean in the sense where, like, you think, oh, when I have X, Y, and Z, I'm going to be so happy and it's going to be so great, but it's kind of a letdown. Yeah, it's kind of a letdown.
See, that's why I love her. That's literally the focal point of what I was trying to remember. Yeah, the expectations, man, if we didn't have expectations as humans, that'd be great. Yeah, like the expectations of like getting into a relationship, and like, oh, I'll be so happy because I'll find that perfect person, and you know, all that. And then like with music, like me actually realizing, oh my gosh, I'm making it happen. And like then it was just kind of the realization like I took for granted a lot of the journey, I guess, with music, and then with the relationship and like dating Nicole, like I expected to like be happy all the time, or like I expected to like be fulfilled, I guess, in a way. And like I am. I guess I'm just trying to say in like a frick, I don't know.
Well, no, I think like a good point to make with all of
I
that.
haven't talked about this stuff in a while.
Well, like when you experience the highs that you do experience in this industry, and like when you do make it at such a young age and you have all these things, like it is, I don't know, like it's hard to make you happy. Like your level of happiness is so high.
You reach such a high of dopamine.
Yeah.
Bro, I literally started crying when I was home in Florida like a couple months ago. I think you might have saw me post it on my Instagram story. I was at the beach, right? I got back home from LA or wherever I was making music. And like I was at the beach and like I just wasn't happy and I couldn't have fun at the beach. And like all these families and all these people are having fun doing such a simple thing, and like I can't do, like it felt like,
you did post. You said like I went to the simple times, like when
the simple times, like when I was just living like a normal life, because it's not a normal life that like artists live. And so many of my artist friends swiped up and they're like, bro, this is facts. It just
really
made me
relatable.
like, wow, like I am not motivated to do these simple things anymore, and to like, or like it's so hard for me to enjoy these little things that I used to love so much.
Yeah.
And that was like a hard thing for me for a while, because like I'll literally go travel, do music in LA, whatever, and I'll get home and I just don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Because nothing's like fun to me, like other than just like, because even just making music, like the process of writing a song is so thrilling. Like there's so many highs in music. It's like really, it's just crazy to be like, in all honesty, like it's just wild. And then like getting up on stage, like let alone A-listers performing in front of like 50,000 people, maybe 100,000 people, like that's even wild. Like that high is probably insane.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's just the next high, the next high, the next high. And I mean, frankly, that's why I believe so many artists are just sad all the time.
People who are in your guys' position, like you guys kind of miss those simple times and like, I wish I could have that.
Yeah.
But
I
then
miss
like
the days when life was so simple.
Yeah. But then people on the other end are looking at you guys like, I wish I had that freedom.
I'm so like, I'm young, so I just don't have life experience like other people. So when I say this, it's not like I've figured life out, but that's just life for so many people. It's just you're chasing something and then you get it and it's not it, it like satisfies you for a moment, but it doesn't fulfill that deep longing. And then like for so many people, like I feel like that's life. Like it's just this constant chase. Like you're just chasing your own tail where, yeah. And it's just like, it's just fleeting.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next question.
Yeah.
This question's kind of confusing, but if you're confused, ask and I'll explain. Have you ever felt more like a product than a human in this industry? How does that affect you? So what I mean by that is like, because people know that you guys, I mean, in the music industry, you can make a lot of money. So people know that. And so people take advantage of artists all the time. Like if they see that you're having success, if they see that you're having a moment, like, do you ever feel like you are literally just like an object in a store where people just want you for the value that you bring to them for the wrong reasons rather than like they just love you for you? Like, how do you navigate that in your relationships? How do you know when your relationships are genuine? How do you know even when your business relationships are genuine? Like how do you deal with that? Because a normal person doesn't really deal with that. When someone likes a person in the normal world, they like them usually for the right reasons, So like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I can answer first. Yes, I feel like that all the time. Also, for me, like I feel like that all the time now, and I'm not, like think about someone like Adele or Justin Bieber, like someone who has infinitely more success. Like I can't even imagine what they go through because they probably have such take Drake, for example, like everyone's trying to take a piece of him and like, who does he really have there for? I don't know. I can't even imagine, but yeah, I feel like that all the time. Like I certainly feel like that, like people, and again, I'm saying this all in the lens of like, I'm not an A-list celebrity. So like, I'm just trying to preface that. I'm saying it just for me. Like I do feel that all the time. I always like, and it directly correlates with like your success 100%. Cause I never felt like this when I first started making music. Because there wasn't much like for people to kind of latch onto, but now I feel like when I go home, like back to Michigan, I feel like that all the time. Like people want to like be near success. They want to be near people that are successful in hopes that it rubs off on them.
Right.
And it totally is just like pride and greed. But like, I feel that too. So like when I say that, like I have to check myself because when I'm around people who are, you know, celebrities or people who are bigger than me, I have to check my heart and be like, man, am I just around them because I want a piece of them? So I'm not like exempt of feeling that way. So in that sense, like I have a little bit of empathy for people who aren't in our shoes. Cause I get it. Like I get it. Like you want to succeed. Like you want to have like you want people to view you highly.
Right.
Oftentimes like more highly than you ought to be viewed. And, so I get it. Like I totally get it. I 100% feel like that all the time. When I come back home, it's always like people want to hang out or they want to do things. And I'm like, I really feel like you would never say that or want to hang out with me if I wasn't making music or living in LA. And,
absolutely.
And I certainly feel it here. Like I feel it in Los Angeles more than anywhere, just because the culture here is much more that. It's much more because just the number of people here that have money and have success and have fame is way more than any other city. So like I think that's a big part of the culture in LA is like, oh, I just want to be in those circles. I want to be around people that are really successful in hopes that some of it rubs off on me.
Totally.
And you really don't genuinely want the best for those people. And with that said, like, I can't imagine what it's like for people who are, you know, who are much bigger than us. And I also get it and have empathy because like, that's kind of part of the human nature. Like, you know,
well,
you want to build
get
yourself up.
starstruck. Like, I even feel like for me, like as you guys know, I've dated 2 musicians. So I've been very exposed to this world. But, you know, like now it's I don't see people any different. And when I meet people, it's like very normal. But when you're young and, you know, you always look up to these people and you see musicians and actors and all these things. And it's cool. Like it's exciting. It feels like enticing. And so, you know, I can see like you have empathy for people because it's like it's not out of necessarily a malicious place, but at the same time, like it's really hard to.
It's just naturally we're selfish and we want the best for ourselves. And totally, like I was at like this party in the summer and there was someone who is like very well known and like very famous and has like tens of millions of followers on different platforms. And like this person was just standing next to me at this party and they just looked like they had never had any joy in their life and they looked so miserable. And I was sad. And also they're just standing next to me. I'm like, wow, this is that person that I honestly always looked up to. And now I'm just like, they're just a person and they're so not happy. And I mean, it's what we were talking about earlier, but it's this constant rat race of like, we think something's going to make us happy and it's just fleeting.
But it's just, I just always think about that for you guys in your perspective. Like there's nothing better than being loved and known for you and like, and people just like really valuing you for your personality and, you know, the spirit that you bring to the room. And so not that people don't value that in you guys, but it is hard when you also bring something else to the table. And so it's like, okay, how do you separate? Does this person really just value me and what I bring as a human, or is there ulterior motives? And do they even know? You know, so it's just like this. Yeah. Do you want to answer the question though, David? Were you done with your answer, Hayd?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
First thing that comes to mind was friends that we've hung out with before, and like Nicole would notice, or she would get upset because like they're so different around just her, and then they will be completely different when I'm around.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel like maybe people expect you to pay for things? That's like a minor skill, but I feel like that maybe when I go back home, sometimes I feel like maybe it's just in my head, but I kind of feel like people kind of expect me to to pay for them?
Definitely, yeah.
Sorry, that's kind of a weird one. I'm trying to think of a
that's
different one.
relevant to the
I feel like
situation
that's
for
a question
sure.
that's very relevant, but not many people ask that. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I do have like my best friend back home in Illinois, near Chicago. His name's Alex. I love him to death. He's awesome. I've been friends with him since first grade. So we go really far back, and like, I mean, still to this day, like I'll go home and like, I'm just like, oh, like I got it, like I can pay for breakfast or whatever, and he's like, oh, are you sure? Like he does not expect anything.
Yeah.
And then there's like other people who like don't know me. Yeah. So yeah, for sure.
I feel like also maybe I mean, it's what I was saying earlier, but I feel like people just kind of linger around me who I just am not really friends with, or we're not that close, but they think we're closer than we are.
Yeah.
It really feels
true.
weird to say this because it feels like it's
but
pretentious
it's
to say.
true.
I don't mean it like
true.
that, but it really feels like there's people that kind of just linger.
Yes.
Because I'm different in the sense of like I'm not married and have kids and like in a picket fence and like back home, because that's what most people do. And like when you have an outlier, like people, they just
Gravitate.
linger around,
Yeah.
and it's like, I'm not really friends with you, but you just want a piece of me. It feels like that.
No, and I really wanted to talk about this because I feel like for you guys, it's kind of uncomfortable being like, oh, like people use me and like people think I'm so cool. Like obviously you don't want to sit there and say that because it's like weird. But from my end, like seeing you guys and experiencing that with David, like that is a real thing. Like people treat you differently when you have followers and when you have success and when you have money. Like, and it frustrates me for you guys because like when I see David get treated differently, I'm like, you better like David for David. And if you don't like David for David, like leave him alone. And like, obviously you can value someone's art and their music, but it's just like, I don't know. I just think that people are very manipulative and there's a lot of bad that can happen and damage that can happen. And I don't know, like it's just not talked about, which again, this podcast is about like just talking about stuff that is maybe uncomfortable for people to hear. But I don't know. Like I think that's a real thing. And I don't think it's bad for you guys to admit that. Like, I know that it maybe seems like it's like, you don't want to say that because it feels like kind of like you don't want people to assume that you think you're this or that. But the reality is that does happen. People treat you differently. And that's a hard thing to go through. Like,
oh, well, yeah, that reminds me, because I just lost another best friend like 2 months ago.
yeah, David's just losing best friends left and right out here.
Yeah, he was, and like, I'm not just using that word like it's nothing, like literally.
No, these are people you've known like your whole life.
Like this guy, we like literally, we don't talk anymore. We're not friends at all. Like I've known him like since like almost elementary school, like, but middle school is when we've known each other that long. It's kind of same scenario, like true colors kind of started coming through like towards the end of the relationship. Oh yeah, I mean, he expected me to pay for everything for him. And the thing is like, I love paying for people. So it's not any like animosity at all. It's like, I have no issue with it. But I have had arguments with him before, like where he expects it. And then like, I've had to like check him where I'm like, yo, like you can't expect it. Cause like, I won't always do that. Like,
which you do like 99.9% of the time for most people. Like you're very gracious to him. You've always been very gracious to him. Just
towards the end of the relationship, it was just, I won't get into specifics because it's a very interesting story. Yeah.
We'd be here all night.
But someone using you like.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was in a little pickle. Like he was going through something in his life. And I was trying to help him. And I was trying to help him figure it out and like help him not like feel too much guilt from it, I guess, because eventually like he did. And like I was like trying to help him a little bit and like just help him get out of this situation. It was a bad situation.
Yeah.
And then he just like turned around on me. No, so essentially the way it happened is just like I asked to be removed from some posts just because of the situation that happened, and then
because you didn't want to associate yourself with someone in their lifestyle.
Yeah, because he doesn't support their lifestyle and all these things.
And then he like just totally didn't want to do that, and where I'll end it is just, it was only because like oh, well, I don't want to be friends then if we can't be seen together. And
So he
was the only
values
thing.
David's social presence on his page a lot because it benefits him.
Yeah.
And then
ultimately.
like I've had people, literally random people, like never met in my life, literally like, oh, that's your friend, like he has all of his Tinder pictures with you. But yeah, I'll just end it there. Obviously not gonna
It's a whole situation,
details.
but
And then yeah, so that was recently.
But
So the answer is yes.
The answer is yes, and to
We feel like a product
kind of
sometimes.
close this out, like I haven't seen in Hayd's personal life, but in David's personal life, I have seen people use him or try to use him. And David's always very gracious and so humble. But yeah, that does happen. And that is something real you guys have to face, which to kind of close this out, I do have one question for you, Hayd. Mm-hmm. So obviously me and you, David, we started dating before you kind of had your big moment, which is cool. Because you know that I actually love you for the right reasons. But Hayd, how do you navigate that in dating? Like when you go on, okay, like no, like seriously, like Hayd's single. He did see a really cute girl at the grocery store, and he didn't hit on her. And I
did
told
the other day.
hit him up if
like,
you were at the grocery store. But no, like genuinely, like when you meet someone new that you don't know from your past and you don't know their intentions, and you're dating, like how do you navigate that? How do you? Is it just your intuition sensing this person's genuine? Like how do you deal with that?
Thank you for asking me that question.
You're welcome.
I don't like. It feels weird kind of answering it because again, to preface, like I'm aware of where I'm at and who I am, and I know I'm not this like A-list celebrity. So again, I don't want any of this to come across pretentiously. I don't have an answer, to be honest with you. Like I don't have an answer in the sense of like I don't have an answer to when I haven't dated someone in a really long time. You know, the last girl I did was like, I don't even remember, like 3 or 4 years ago, you know? So like ever since I've been doing music full time, I really haven't like dated anyone.
Gotcha.
And like I've gone on 2 dates to last like 4 years, but I'm fine. Like I'm not, you know, like I don't need that right now to make me happy, but I do notice, it makes me uncomfortable to say this, but I'll just say it.
It's
but
okay,
like
we're
people,
getting deep. This is elephants in the room.
I just feel like
no, that's a deep
pretentious,
question.
but
Yeah.
it's not like that. But this is what happens every time. Like it really does. I'll be talking to someone who's like not in the industry and just doesn't, you know, understand like the music industry or the film industry or anything like that. You're just talking to someone, whether they're a college student, whatever. This is exactly how it goes every single time. Oh, what's your name? I was like, oh, I'm Hayden. And then like always just in the conversation, just naturally when you're conversating with someone, it's like, what do you do? And I always just say, I make music. I always say that. And then the next question without fail is always, what type of music do you make? And then also it's oh, do you have music on Spotify? It's always those questions. And then they always look you up, and then they see like that you like have like
Numbers.
Stream. Yeah, they like see that like, okay, you're not just like, you know,
Making music in
busking
your
on the
room.
side of the
Yeah,
street.
yeah.
It's like, okay, like you actually have fans.
Right,
and like
right.
and every single time, I say every single time, like it happens like it doesn't happen all that, like it really doesn't happen all that much. I see it every time because then they look you up and then their face changes and it's always just like
a switch
I
flips.
physically I feel like I'm treated different after that, like all the time. And this happened. No, this literally happened. Like I was telling you guys, I think I was telling you guys this.
The
but
girl.
This was literally happened the other day where like I was with the guys from our. Well, I was with like some of the guys from our house church having dinner, and we were just having dinner, and I went to use the restroom, and then when I come back, there's just 2 girls in the house, and basically like. Ivan, that's the guy whose house we were at, like these were his neighbors, right? And she was having like some lung problems, so I was just like, hey, can we like pray for you? Is that fine? And they're like, oh yeah, like we'd love prayer. So anyway, so that's why. So these 2 girls come in. I've never met them in my life, and so like all the guys pray for them, and then they just stay and they start conversating. So I'm sitting next to them on the couch, and they're like so what do you do? And it's the same conversation. It's like, I make music, I play it for them, they look me up, and then showing me like all this attention. It feels weird to say this because I'm not thing. Like, I'm just not Justin Bieber, and I'm not like,
but
I say it happens a lot. Like it does happen a lot. Like for me, but it's not like
happens a lot.
No, but to the average person, Hayd, like even if you're not Justin Bieber level, to an average person, if anyone has any level, like you're here in LA experiencing super successful people, but to the average person, you guys are both very successful people.
Sure.
So, I know it's all about perspective.
It happens with like friends too, like in a platonic relationship as well. Like not just girls who like maybe potentially are into me. It's like it happens with anyone too back home. It's just like, what do you do? It's like, oh, I make music, and it's like, oh wow, you like actually make music, and I really do feel like I'm treated differently, and it's really hard to navigate. And I was joking with my friends because I'm like, when I go back home and I go places, I want to just like make something up. Like I want to say I'm
a fake scenario. Like I work at a grocery store.
Yeah, like I want to say like I'm a baker or something. Even though like I literally don't know how to bake anything. Like I've never even made cookies in my life. I don't know how to make it.
Ladies, hit him up in the DMs. Teach him how to bake.
I can make homemade pizzas. That's about all. And eggs. Yes. That's about all I can make. Anyway, so I was just like, oh, maybe I should just like come up with something. But then I'm like, no, I don't want to lie. So it's kind of like this weird thing where like, I don't really know because I envy that like with you guys, like that Nicole loves you because of you and not just because you've seen success in music really or because you have money or things like that. But, and I just can't relate to that. Like I envy that because I'm like, oh man, like, wouldn't it be nice like if I just had a girlfriend that I like loved and that like I wanted to be with forever and we've been together. Like I just don't have that, and that's probably also why I like don't go on that many dates, just because like it's just not maybe as appealing to me to do that.
A hopeless romantic. I'm just kidding.
So there you go.
No, well, I just want to ask you that question from your perspective.
No, I appreciate that question. I feel it's like makes me uncomfortable answering it, but yes, I totally I feel
that was really good though, the answer.
Yeah, sorry, David. You can't. I can't ask you the same question.
Yeah, wait, what? Repeat it again?
Well, just the question was like in regards to dating, like being treated differently, like by females. But I mean, you did experience that, David, with social media because you did have a social media following before me, like with girls on the internet. Like, you probably experienced girls in your hometown.
This is just
I guess I could talk about like, I don't know, girls acting different. But again, I
just have a question.
I don't even want to talk about that because
you don't have to. I just want to ask, like, do you get, this is like, you have a girlfriend. I feel like if anyone were to see your page, like they know that you and Nicole are dating because you just have like so much picture. But like, do you have a lot of girls sliding your DMs?
Oh yeah.
Really?
No, but
I've never asked you that.
Oh yeah, every day, bro.
No, but let me just say this.
Like a good amount. Like people, just like.
Okay, but let me just say this just to be the crazy girlfriend. That's one thing that drives me nuts about girls sliding into his DMs is it's like, as a girl, because David will always say to me, oh, well, maybe they don't know I have a girlfriend. I'm like, David, are you dumb? Girls stalk your entire page before they DM you. Like, they know. But, like, they know. And, like, it's fine, but it's just, like, that's what's sad to me is that fame does that. Like, most people have good enough character that they wouldn't ever go after a guy who is in a relationship, but when there's fame involved, it changes. And so it's sad that because of that, people are like, well, just because that's that factor, I'm going to slide in his DMs anyways because it's worth the risk. But it's like, I can guarantee you that if those girls saw us in public...
You're just a smoke show, bro.
He's pretty... Yeah. But but I'm just saying, like, any girls watching this, please back me up. Like, girls know. Like, we're not dumb. And so Dave would be like, oh, they don't know. I'm like, they know. But, it's fine. But I'm just saying, it's crazy how, like, fame and followers changes that for people. That's all I'm saying. Did you feel like that when you had success on TikTok? Like, when you would talk to people, like, girls from your hometown maybe that knew you in high school, and then you kind of... Oh, my gosh.
I just experienced that. Or when I was home, I was with Patrick for that Christmas weekend. Mm-hmm. So I went back home to Chicago with my family for a bit, like December 22nd or something, right before Christmas. Back in my hometown, I was with my best friends. And then while I was there, we were hanging out one day. And then he's like, hey, so-and-so's having a party. All these people are going to be there from high school that we all grew up with. And I was like, yeah, it's not, it was like all of our friends and then all of their parents. Cause like, you know, we were all pretty intertwined, whatever. Anyway, so we go to the party, really cool Christmas party. And yeah, like I see these girls I haven't seen since like middle school. Like that's how long I've known them. Like, oh, hi, it's so nice to see you, whatever. And like, yeah. And then we start talking about like, you know, social media, like same thing with Hayd, like, oh, you know, what are you working on right now? Or how is this doing? Or how is that doing? And then like kind of they look up whatever. And then you kind of like feel the change and like,
Totally.
Yeah, and it's like, it's sad because then I remember like those kids, like I never was close with them growing up. I was talking to Hayd about this, like me and Hayd were the kids in high school, like we would never hang out with that group that would like always drink or like, you know, they would experiment with drugs, whatever. Like, you know, I'm sure if you're watching this, like you know that group in high school, if you're in high school or whatever, like they would talk bad about me, like they would bully me, like I was a really skinny kid, like they would just say mean stuff. And then they just like treated me there as if they've known me so well, like, you know, this like whole time. And like, yeah, like nothing bad was said, but it just shows it's like, if I wasn't in the position I'm in and I showed up at that party, it's like, would they really care?
It's just ingenuine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I was going to say like, cause in high school, I also got made fun of a lot for the music I made. And it was really cringy, like the music I was making in high school, but they would play it like before soccer warm-ups, before games and basketball games, like to that extent, like they really made fun of me.
Wow.
No way.
That's crazy. Hey.
That's like a whole nother story.
They were playing it in a good way, like to hype you up. Like,
no, I do have a story of like a girl I broke up with. Okay, okay.
Get in. Okay. We're doing this.
I was dating someone and it was my first girlfriend ever. It was really not like, I don't want to say anything bad. It just was a toxic relationship. And I was like 16. We broke up and she had a younger brother who was my age because she was a year older than me. And so he went to our rival school. But I thought we were still friends because we were on the same club soccer team, like outside of school. So like we were still friends, even though his sister and I broke up. And so like before we played this school in soccer, like during the warm-ups, like not the stadium, but like, you know, it's packed, like everyone's there. They just start playing only my music for warm-ups.
That's
and it's
crazy.
Like all my slow songs. I mean, a lot of my songs are slow, but you know, it's like all these slow songs and everyone's like, it's just so embarrassing. And so it was to that extent. So they were playing my music.
People are brutal.
No, I mean, looking back, it's pretty funny. Like, it actually is so funny.
Yeah, but as a kid, you were probably like traumatized.
I know, it's so mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, after I would I checked on SoundCloud, I would get like 100 more streams. I was like, oh,
you're like, let's go, money in the bank.
Yeah. No, but it looking back, that's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was really mean. So yeah, I got made fun of. But my point was that I came home. I went home a few weeks ago for Christmas, and I saw some of those same guys who made fun of me, and I haven't talked to them in years, and they were just like gassing me up, just like. And now they're like commenting on all my music I post and tease on Instagram and DM. They're just like, this is so good. And I was like, well, you didn't say that.
You're like, well, you used to make fun of me.
You didn't say that in high school. But anyway, that's the story. I wanted to keep it brief.
Okay, sweet. Well, this is kind of the last question about like social media stuff.
Real quick. So sorry. Is Brent over there? He's sleeping. I texted Brent like 30 minutes ago. Like, can I get some more water?
Oh,
and is that okay, Sterling? Thank you.
Bro, this man
Sterling is our assistant, guys. We love Sterling.
This man drinks like so
no,
much
I do.
water.
You guys know.
Didn't you drink like
So you
10
know this. When we
bottles
went to Alimento, I drank like literally 4 gallons of that water. Like it was so much. I know, yeah. It's like $20 worth of water. Yeah, my bad. I down water. I drink so much water.
The water is right in there, Sterling. If you go through that door.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I think of you. I want to be your baby. Get girl, don't leave it.
Singing intermission by David. Thank you, Sterling.
Thanks,
Sterling, you're the best. We love you. Anyways, all right, guys, here's my last question about social media. How do you deal with the highs and lows of social media, and how does that affect your creative process when you are constantly putting your art into the world to be judged and critiqued? So obviously you guys have highlights where you put out a song, it does really well. People are like, I love this. What about those times when you put out a song that you love that means a lot to you and people just, it doesn't perform well, people don't comment nice things? Like, how does that affect you as a person? Because I would die. Like, I would be like, oh my gosh, like, that's so hard. So like, how do you deal with the lows? Oh, David's like, shut up, Nicole, am I too close to the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Really
Sorry.
You're fine, Nicole.
Okay,
You're
I'm
actually
good.
just totally fine. That's a great question. It sucks. It definitely sucks. I certainly don't have an answer. If someone does have an answer, I would love to hear it.
Kate Bush running up on that hill.
What?
Yep, that's a good song.
Kate Bush's song on Stranger Things.
Okay,
was
I
a
get what you're
nobody
saying.
song.
I get what you're saying. Okay, I
And
understand
then-
what you're saying.
I'm just saying as far as like the number aspect.
Yeah,
If
no, I get what you're
that's
saying.
somebody wants to
Number
ask.
aspect. I'm saying like 100%. I agree. I'm saying as far as social media and stuff, it's I don't fully know how to navigate that because like there's kind of the highs and lows of like like there's highs when you're posting like a reel or a TikTok and it's doing really well, and then but also I like in December I had to delete social media for a month just to like I felt like I was just spending so much time on it. So if anyone knows how like a very healthy way to
That's
like,
a good tip, is to kind of remove it for a moment, like if you need to, you know. I think that's healthy.
Totally. I think as far as like the art, I think I'm learning, and I've learned a little bit that I don't really care as much as I used to, like maybe a couple years ago, where like you just got to make music and you got to create art that you love doing. And like, I think sometimes it got to a point for me where like I lost the joy that I had when I was first making music because it became a job and because I'm putting all this pressure on on myself, you know? And so like I lost the joy and I forget why I made music in the first place, you know? And I started making music because like it helped me heal, and I loved making music. Like I just love it. I love how different people it can relate in different ways, and it just really speaks to someone's soul in ways that words and a lot of things just can't. So, I feel like the last couple of years I've been learning that you just gotta make music and art that you love to make. And if it doesn't get a lot of streams, that's okay. Like you can still be proud of something like that. And like you said, an extreme example, like Running Up That Hill was, for like 50 years no one knew what that song, and now it's the biggest song in the world. And like even me, like on a personal level, like Head in the Clouds is it's like my biggest song of all time now. And like when I sent it to the label and my manager, they didn't like that song.
Wow.
Like they just didn't. And I was like, this is the single, like, and they were like, I don't think that's a single, that should just be an EP track. And I was like, well, I really like, it means a lot to me because I wrote it about my best friend and we drifted apart. Like it has a lot of sentimental value to me and meaning. And they're like, it's just, we don't think it's like your best song. And then I just kind of stuck up for myself and I was like, this is going to be the single because I really believe in the song. And even if it doesn't do well, like, that's okay. Yeah. And like, that's my biggest, like, it's not even close, like globally too, like that's my biggest song. And it was the thing where like, I put it out and it didn't get that many streams. And at first they're like, we told you, but then it was literally like, and now it came out a year and a half ago. It's getting more streams now than it ever has. And
that's
it's
crazy.
Like, it just goes to show like
the quality of the music matters.
Yeah. And there's no guarantee. Like, truthfully, I think even if that song tanked and did like, like 1 million streams, it means so much to me and I still love that song. But it is very like fulfilling because, and maybe that's the reason why, like maybe it was that song where it's that mindset switched for me where I really believe you just put out art that you love and you believe in. And if no one sees that right away or it never sees the light of day, that's okay. Because like even if one person, like it really like touches them and speaks to their soul, like it really is worth it. Like, so social media, it's just highs and lows and I have no idea how to navigate that. I just try to like make like cool content and art that I think is cool, that like fits the aesthetic of the songs. But as far as the creative process, you can't chase, in my opinion, you just can't chase virality or like write songs just with the thought of, oh, it's going to be big on TikTok. Like I despise when people do that sometimes. I think you should just make music that's original to you, and that means a lot. And
Agreed.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really cool perspective. You said you don't know how to deal with it, but I feel like everything you said is like good ways to deal with it. So
thanks. Yeah,
that's good.
It's just highs and lows.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
That's maybe just the nature of it, and there's no way around that. But
I feel like accepting that and just valuing your work, and like if it means a lot to you, you're gonna put it out regardless. And so that's just a cool perspective. What about you, David? I know you agree with everything Hayd said, but do you have anything to add on to that, like with the highs and lows of social media?
Can you repeat the full question?
Yeah.
I'm slow.
Oh no, you're not slow. You're good.
Just tired.
No, I'm slow, brother. I was in like Algebra 1 as a senior.
How do you deal with the highs and lows of social media, and how does that affect your creative process when you are constantly putting your art out into the world?
Yeah, I definitely started feeling that like after I released Miserable Man. That was like the most I felt it, like those couple months after, and like just after Miserable Man, Mr. Forgettable, and then like putting those songs out and like doing really well in like a very fast amount of time. Everything after that last year, it's definitely just the modern technological world we live in. Like, you know, you kind of attach your art to like the numbers you see on your TikTok or your Instagram, and you know, the amount of people that are using your song in their own videos and creating their own creations to it, like, and like if you don't see that, then like it's a terrible song and it's not good. Like, and like me and Hayd can attest, like we have a lot of friends who do like still think like that, and I think every artist kind of goes through that, and they realize, you know, they come back to like why they make music.
Totally.
And then that's what kind of heals that, because like that mindset, it's so toxic, bro.
Yeah.
It creates so much stress, so much unhappiness, like, and it really puts you out of the whole purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. Yeah, it was just the realization of like, it's such a fleeting thing, like how Hayd's been saying, like, and then you just realize you just need to keep making stuff that you believe in and that you think is good and that you really love, and like meaningful art, and then, you know, in hopes that at least one other person can attach to it the way that you did when you were creating it. And if it has a moment, it has a moment. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Yeah. But then it could have a moment in a year or two, like Hayd's song, you know, like, I mean, it had a moment when it came out.
But I love what you said about...
I'm just saying, like, it could even just... It could have an even bigger moment in a year. Like the whole Stranger Things example that I gave. Kate Bush is, like, this really old artist. And her song's on the biggest show in the world now. And that's just kind of... I was just like, all right, David, like, you can't compare... Because it's really easy to compare yourself, you know, to your songs that did really well. And then you're posting other songs you make, and, you know... Like, oh, it didn't blow up, it didn't get 10,000 likes, it didn't get, you know, whatever it may be. And you're like, so what? Like, I love this song. Like,
yeah.
And I have people that message me about that song, even though it's not, you know, my biggest song, or it's like more of a lower performing song. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah,
you love it, and you believe in it. Yeah, I think that's just kind of why.
That's what matters.
Totally. I found too, what's helpful is like, for me, I was sharing at the beginning of when we started this conversation, I was in a really low place last summer. And honestly, something that helped me come back to, I think I also just lost sight of why I like making music, and it became about numbers and all this stuff. But something that really helped me is when I went to Asia in last autumn, because that revived my love, like for why I make music, because now I was on the other side of the world and I made all these songs in my bedroom, and no one in these countries can speak any English. Like we'd do meet and greets, and like they know how to say hello, and that's it. Like a lot of I'm generalizing, of course, but like these people don't know how to speak English. They sing my songs back to me in perfect English, like every single one. That's crazy. And when I was there, that revived my love for making music, and it reminded me why I make music is because, like, you know, even if it doesn't get a billion streams, like I write a song in my bedroom because there's like, you know, there's a 15-year-old girl in Thailand by herself who's depressed and like feels like she's all alone, but she can listen to a song and she can know that like she's not alone, you know? And so yeah, I feel like that's a big thing for artists is like when they actually play shows and like people singing back their songs. You
experience
like
the real people behind.
Yeah, like that really does like revive, and that's kind of your lifeline for keeping that love. I feel like that you originally
that's very cool.
have when you start making an art.
This is going to be such a good episode. This is just cool because this stuff isn't talked about. So, I don't know. I feel like normally you go on interviews and it's like you just so it's cool. Like I feel like people are going to really appreciate your guys'
It's cool. Like it'll be fun. Yeah, totally. And I think it'll be fun in a few years, maybe going on like a podcast to look back, be like where we are now to maybe who knows where we'll be in 3 years. And absolutely, it's cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, well, we kind of talked a little bit about like music. Well, we talked a lot about music, which is good. But we're going to get into some personal stuff a little bit. So, what means the most to you guys in this life? We'll start with Hayd.
That's a good question. What means the most to me in this life? Definitely my faith in Christ. I feel like I would have to share part of my story to answer that question. Absolutely, go ahead. So I grew up going to church. I grew up in West Michigan. It's the Bible Belt of the Midwest. So, you know, like you go to church and you're very well versed in all the passages, and I'm really grateful that I was raised that way. But anyway, I'm such a people pleaser. I was as a kid. I was such a people pleaser. I found so much worth in how other people saw me. And that was every aspect of my life. That was sports growing up. That was grades. Like that was music, like anything. I found so much worth in how people saw me. And it just was so burdensome because like, yeah, of course I wasn't fulfilled by that, you know? And, you know, there's moments I feel like where, you know, maybe God humbled me a little bit, like in elementary school, but it like climaxed in high school to where there was a season where I truthfully had like everything going for me, where I was like a worship leader at a mega church in Michigan. Like our soccer team in high school was #1 in the state, undefeated. Like I was in my first relationship and it was really toxic, but I didn't, you know, like at the time I was like on cloud 9 because I'm like, a girl likes me. I was like one of the top in my class. No, you know, but like I like there was a season where like truthfully, yeah, everything was going right for me. No, and 100%. Then I got sick. Like, I feel like within a moment, God took all those things away from me because I got sick and I was in the hospital and like I couldn't see my girlfriend. I couldn't play sports. I couldn't lead worship, and everything was kind of taken from me like very quickly. And God just humbled me. Like I felt like I just got my eyes open to realize like, man, these things just don't matter. And like, I can't find my worth in how other people see me. I can't, because it's just not fulfilling. And absolutely. But I know that a lot of people relate to that. Like a lot of people, you know, are people pleasers at heart, and that's like, you know, it's really tough. So anyway, that was like junior year. And so I really feel like that was like a really pivotal moment in my spiritual journey because I just felt like I built kind of all these foundations that like Hayden, like my name that I was standing upon. And then like they all just kind of crumbled. And I was like, man, like who really am I? What really does matter?
Right.
And so there was a season, it was during that season when I was a junior, I just locked myself, like I didn't actually lock myself in my room, but I locked myself in my room for like 3 months, and every day I would just like pray and I would just read the Bible. And growing up, you know, like growing up in certain church circles or any religion, maybe for that matter, like you grow up with these paradigms. So like you don't even, and you can probably relate to this, like growing up Mormon, like you grow up and you don't understand that like you are seeing the world through a specific lens and worldview, because that's all you know. So like, and that goes for everyone. Like you grow up and you have paradigms that you don't understand that you have, and you need someone else to, like, you need to conversate with other people to realize like, whoa. Like it opens your eyes. You're like, wait. Like I was in a bubble. Like even in Michigan, like I was in a bubble where like everyone was a Christian, and like they weren't, but like they wore that label. If you could describe Mormons in like Utah, that's exactly how I would describe it. And so like for me, those 3 months was so pivotal for like me as a person and me spiritually, because I felt like everything I was taught, like I just somehow was able to throw out the window. And when I was reading the Bible, it felt like I was reading it for the first time, and just like coming before it, like just so sincerely and curious, not like I don't have any of the answers, like even though I've read these stories so many times. And just praying too. I would just pray like in my closet to God every night. And I felt like every night there was so many, it felt like, I'll use an analogy. It felt like there's so many ropes and like belts tied around me. And I never really felt like that. I never really felt that joy and freedom that like people, I feel like some people have when they talk about religion and faith. Like I never really had that. Like I had highs going to camps and then lows, and it was always highs and lows. And I felt like I never fully had that freedom. And truly like those 3 months changed my life, because I felt like every single time I was praying to God and every time I was reading the Bible, like more and more of these things that I placed my worth in just kind of like broke off me. Yeah. And it really got to a point where it really was a moment. Like I was in a bagel shop. It's a store called Brooklyn Bagels in West Michigan. And it just clicked where I just understood, like, man, like I really felt like I understood the gospel for the first time. And I understood like, man, this world is so, this world is really broken. And like that's so apparent to see. And people try to get out of that brokenness all different ways. Like for me, I tried to get out with toxic relationships. I tried to get out with music. I tried to get out with sports, like, and other people try to get out with, like anything, drugs, like religion itself, like being a good person is like a huge thing now. Absolutely. So like the world's broken and people experience brokenness, but it wasn't always like that. Like at the beginning, it was good. Like we had a right relationship with God, and people, like we chose our own way rather than living like in union with God. And like, that's what I would call sin, is like we disobeyed God. And like, because of that, the curse of sin is that like everyone's going to die one day. Like the wages of sin is death is a passage in Romans in the Bible. And so like, that's why there's brokenness. Like all of us are just so selfish and so sinful and like broken. And the truth is like none of those things satisfy. And I can attest, like in my life, and I would never force this belief on anyone because everyone has, their own beliefs. But like the only way that will really satisfy you is Christ. And God loved us so much that like he made a doorway out by coming to earth and living a perfect life where we all fell short and we all deserve death. Like Christ actually lived a perfect life. And he died, and he didn't stay dead because like only sinners die, but he didn't sin, so like he rose again, and now he's our doorway out. And if we submit our lives to him, like God forgives us of everything that we've done. Like we're adopted into a new family, like, and God empowers us. Like he gives us his spirit, so that we're not alone and that we can actually like look more like Jesus. and he's going to come back one day, you know? So anyway, not to like go off on like a super spiritual tangent, but I feel like that it just clicked, like that truth like clicked, and I understood like that's the most important thing in my life, like the gospel, what I just shared with you. And like music is great and it's doing well and it's working out, but like that's just my occupation, you know, like that's just my job. That's not my purpose. My purpose is not to make music, you know? So anyway, that is like my faith really is the most important thing to me. Also because it's been like my anchor when I felt like I had no one. Because I was sharing earlier, like in the summer, I just felt so alone.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had no one. And I was saying too, like even when I was praying, like I felt like I wasn't even hearing God.
Yeah.
Like I just felt so alone. And but I just like, I know I'm not alone. I don't know. Like it's just my anchor when I had nothing else. And the last thing I'll say is like this quick story that it's like my favorite quote of all time. But there's a song called Even When He Is Silent. It's a choral song. So I sang it for choir when I was in high school. But basically it's this beautiful song. But the story behind the song is like during World War II, you have these concentration camps, you know, like all these Jews are getting murdered like horribly, you know, and at one of the worst concentration camps, there was written on the wall, it says, I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in love, even when I feel it not. I believe in God, even when he is silent. And this is someone who's about to be murdered, you know, like at a concentration camp. And they wrote that on the wall. And basically someone took those lyrics and made it a song. That's the backstory behind the song. And I share that because like, that is I love that quote. And that's my take as well. Like, even when the sun's not shining, I still believe it's there. And even if God is silent, I still believe he's there. And even if I don't feel love and I feel lonely, like I know it's still there. Anyway, I don't mean for this to sound preachy, but so I definitely would say like my faith in Jesus is for sure the most important thing to me. Because I no longer, before I found worth in all these other things, and now I don't. I only find worth in how Jesus sees me, and that brings me peace, and that brings me true joy. And I do feel that freedom that I've never felt. It doesn't mean my life's easy. Like it like honestly, like when I started following Jesus, like really, like actually my life got way harder.
I agree.
But it's just like you just have this peace, and you have this. I don't know how to explain it. You really do just have this peace that nothing else can give you. That was a long answer.
No, that's amazing. That was
yeah.
very special. Thanks for sharing that, Hayd. I know that's hard to share that stuff. But yeah, I loved it.
No, it's good. Thanks for asking.
David, what about you, Mr. David Kushner? Here, I'll get you water, Hayd, and then we'll carry on.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
All right, David, it's just us.
Where do we go?
Hello, everyone. I don't know what to say.
I'm going through change.
Thank you. But I swear I'm the same. Could you show me
that I'm
You don't know the lyrics, do you?
lazy, but it hurts along the way.
Oh. Okay.
And I've been drifting through the ocean,
That's not the lyric.
learning how to pretend that everything is afloat.
Wow. Standing ovation.
I should have wrote those. Should have been
David
the lyrics.
Kushner.
Kush Poppy.
Water.
Yeah, Kush Poppy.
What's the most important thing to you in life?
All right, David.
Okay, the most important thing to me is also my faith.
Copycat. You can't say that. You have to say
it's
it
hard
differently.
because
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He already answered it for
But
me.
I feel bad. I
Answer in
am
your own
answering
way.
these questions, so I do feel bad. I feel like I'm
No, answer
talking
in
a
your
lot.
own way, David. Yeah.
Stealing David's thunder.
Basically,
Share your faith.
yeah, the most important thing to me is my faith. Yeah, I would say it's the most important to me because I believe Jesus is the embodiment of love and what he did for us. And there's no other thing or event or person in history that has ever done and said what Jesus did to ever convince me that is the objective truth in life. Yeah, just the way he lived the way he lived is just so significant. I believe, like, if you choose to not involve God in your life and you choose to believe that he's not there, I don't know. It seems like a very hedonistic life, and it's a very selfish. I mean, it's not like, I'm not calling that individual selfish. Like, they could be a very selfless person. I'm just saying at that point, there's no objective meaning to life.
Yeah, like if life's just
there's
about
only
you,
subjective meaning. Yeah. It's just whatever you make it to be is the meaning. Because when you die, there's nothing, and it's just whatever is here now. You kind of are God until you are just gone forever. And yeah, to me that's just a very like selfish way, because you believe there's nothing anyway. And I don't know, I feel like you could just really get pushed to the edge in a lot of things that can be harmful to your life.
Can you take us back, David? Like, so obviously you believe in the Lord, you believe in Jesus, you believe in the Bible, but yep. Where did your faith begin? Like, why is it the most important thing in your life? Like, why do you believe in Jesus?
Yeah, like, I was kind of raised Christian, but like not really. Like, my mom would take us to church here and there, but we never got taught anything in depth, and that's about it. So yeah, it's not like some crazy religious background, other than just like, oh, like, I believe God's real because my mommy told me, or something, like there's a God that loves me and died for me, and that's about it. But never understood Christ and what he did on the cross and just the story. I didn't know anything. Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it earlier. It was when I started social media, and I was kind of feeling all this greed of like power and numbers and followers, and like getting very greedy, but then just having this weird crisis randomly out of nowhere, just doubting like, well, is God there though? Because if he's not, I want to do whatever the hell I want. Like, that's kind of that was like the essence of like that time when I was, not sleeping. I was panic attacks. When I wake up, like literally if I lift my head from my pillow, like I'll start having panic attacks. Like, it was that bad. Yeah, and just really, really taking the time to pursue God, and if there is a God. I was that kind of person that believed in God, like, oh, just be a good person, but never understanding that you could actually have a relationship with him, and you could like personally know this God. And and then I learned the story of when he came to meet us in our sin, the story of Jesus, because he came as God. And and it was hard. Like, it was definitely hard kind of taking that leap of like, I mean, if there is a God, like, I want to know. Like, that changes everything. That's the most important question of life, if there's any capacity for that being true. And I really just put my head down, and I just started praying to God. Like, it's as simple as that, and people overcomplicate it so much. And I just started praying to God. I started reading the Word and just learning about Christian history, and like learning about the origins of Christianity, and like just the historical evidence, and like all the data we have of it, and like it was just over time. It was just like God revealing himself to me, and that's what I would pray for all the time. And I'm sure every Christian has said that in their journey. And it was just like so real, and it was just like there's nothing I would want to believe in than this. Like, this is so good, and it's such a good thing. And just the things that like Jesus offers. Jesus can offer freedom of so many things, like depression and drug addiction and whatever it may be that humans struggle with all the time, like lack of purpose, like all of those things. And it's not even like a crutch. It's like he gives you actual purpose. It's not like, oh, it just makes me feel comfortable, like, oh, like I'm just gonna say I believe in Jesus, it gives me comfort and just knowing I believe in something. It's like, no, like when you actually look into his life and what he says about you and what your purpose is, you're like, whoa, like it's literally just like a story of redemption of all this suffering and evil and evil that we see in the world. And yeah, it was just over time, like I don't have that interesting of a story. It was just over time, like I'm just like, dang man, like I'm gonna choose to believe that God's there and that he is there. Because quite frankly, like the evidence is so much more for there being a God than not. And
Totally.
it's
you did spend a lot of time, like during your faith crisis, sorry to cut you off, but you spent a ton of time reading books, testing your faith, reading history about the Bible. Like David really tested his faith because you wanted to know if there was a God, and so you did seek him with your whole heart, and you really like gave God a chance, and you were like, if you're real and you're there, reveal yourself. But David is extremely knowledgeable.
And
he knows a lot.
David is. You are really.
He's very knowledgeable about his faith.
I'm kind of knowledgeable.
I always see you like apologetics books, like lying around. I was like, David.
David went through a whole period where he read. I mean, when he was going through his when he was very anxious, he couldn't even drive. Like he went through a really hard time in his life, and during that time was when he, started to develop a relationship with Jesus. But David is very much like a logical person, and so he likes having fact and evidence, and so he put in the work to see, is God real? And like he's saying, there's a lot more evidence for God being real than not, and obviously there's also a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just obviously it's a very silent topic. Like not many people talk about that, or like probably nobody talks about it in the music industry. Like it's a very important thing. It's like if there's a God that could free you from chains of depression and suicidal ideation or whatever it may be, like why wouldn't you want to know? Why wouldn't you want to know him at all? Like and like I love talking about it, and it definitely needs to be talked about more and more accepted, because I know it's not. I mean, anybody can look at social media or anything and see that it's not accepted. Like, and that, people don't want to be divisive. We don't want to be canceled or whatever. And like all of this, it's just all of this fear, and God tells us, like, he gave us a sound mind of peace, and like fear is not of God. And, I mean, it's just, all it boils down to me is just like if you're not gonna try and know if there's a God and to try and know him and have a relationship with him, it's like, what's the point of life? Sure, you can have your subjective purpose of, I'm just gonna be an engineer. Yeah, it's like, but it goes deeper than that. Okay, to be happy, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna party, drink, sleep around with people, like do whatever you want, expecting in return that that's gonna be the outcome?
This next question kind of like aligns with where you were leading into, David. How do you handle the pressure of having beliefs that don't typically align with the industry you're in? So how do you guys deal with that? Because kind of what David said is like, it's not accepted to really talk too much about it because it can be seen as divisive, and you want to protect people's emotions and feelings, and so it's a very divisive topic, I guess, or people believe. But what's your guys' perspective on that, and how do you deal with having your guys' faith and remaining bold in this space?
Totally. I can start if you want. I'll try to be as concise and cohesive as I can be. It's difficult, like navigating having beliefs that can, are like mocked or just not seen by everyone. And with that said, everyone has their own beliefs, and like I respect that, and I would never I would never force what I believe onto someone, because I think there's been a lot of, you know, like bad things that have happened in the world, like by people who maybe they were like really pure, they had pure intentions, but like by them forcing their beliefs on someone, it's caused a lot of pain. So I would never force like what I believe on someone, and I'm always here just to talk. But like, I mean, that's something that we all three of us, and but especially David and I feel like I've been talking about the last couple of weeks, is like, how do we navigate, you know, we get all these DMs all the time of people being like, your music saved my life. Like it just happens a lot. And I think, you know, maybe more than the average artist, because of the music that we make, I think is more like introspective, and we really write from like a vulnerable, like, I don't know, like spot in like worldview. So I feel like it really resonates with people, the music that we make. So anyway, we were talking about it, like, how do you navigate that? Because we get all these messages, but like deep down, like I really hold firm to what I believe, like that it's like, man, like you say that my music saved you, but like my music can't save anyone. You know, like my music can give you temporary like relief and like maybe like temporary peace, or like it's more comfort. That's the best word. Like my music can give you temporary comfort because you realize maybe you're not alone, or I put into words kind of like this emotion that you are feeling, like now it's kind of tangible to you. But it can't, like, it just can't save you, you know? Right. I'm not perfect. So like I really believe that like that's only through Christ do you find that like freedom and can you be saved. So it is difficult navigating that, like, and we've been talking about that a bunch, because like, you know, when I was growing up, when I went through a breakup, so I was really sad, so I started writing all these sad songs, and I got like ostracized from my church. And like there's all these pastors who are like really condemning me and telling me, oh, like, you know, you can't do this. You got to make music that's explicitly worship music or else it's wrong. And I also had other pastors like encouraging me, and they're like, oh, you should make music like that, because, you know, worship music, we're preaching to the choir, but you're reaching all these people with hope that like we could never reach. So I was so torn like when I started making music, because I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, am I being disobedient to God because I'm not Hillsong or something, you know? But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I had so much like peace in like subjective experiences with God, where I like through prayer and through quiet time with God, I really felt peace to make the music. And I believe in that because, I mean, look where like all the doors God's open. Absolutely. Like there's things that have happened that are beyond human hands that in my life that we just don't have the time to share that now. But like I could talk for hours like about all these crazy doors God opened. And so anyway, it's like I want to be vocal about my faith. It's tough because I feel like it's frowned upon, especially Christianity, I think, like for some reason. And so I'm trying to navigate that. But that's like why, like, also we want to do this podcast to like share, like let people know, like not only about our music, but also like what's really, really important to us in like our spiritual journey. So with that said, yeah, everyone has their own different beliefs. Like Absolutely. I really believe deep down that that Jesus is the only way that you can have that freedom and that salvation. And so it's tough because we're put on a pedestal and we're always messaged like, oh, your music saved my life. Your music is this. And I'm like, that means so much to me. I'm not saying like, don't send those messages to me. Like that really does encourage me. And it shows that like music is really powerful, but I just know like in my heart, I'm like, you know, my music can't save anyone.
Right. There's something
it can comfort people, but it can't save you. So, I don't know if I fully answered your question, but yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning how to navigate that, you know?
Yeah.
I want to be as honest as I can be.
Yeah. You guys are doing a great job. You guys, definitely a lot of people, even though I know there's probably a lot of people who don't agree with what you guys believe in. Yeah. I know that there's a lot of people who just are so grateful that there's people like you who are willing to share. And it all comes from, you know, anything any of us believe in, it all comes from a place of love because we want to share, you know, those things with everyone. And so it's hard. Like you said, everyone has their own beliefs, and I think it's so important to respect and and value everyone's experiences. We all have experiences
totally.
that have led us to what we believe in, but ultimately, like, obviously, if it means a lot to us, we want to share it. And so it's just finding the best way to do that and doing it out of a genuine place, but also like knowing that, you know, if you face backlash for it, it's like, if you're doing it out of a genuine place, that doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, David, do you have anything to touch on that? Like, how do you deal with being a Christian in the music industry, and have you faced any challenges with that and stuff like that?
Yes. I think it's just the minority, so it's really hard because as far as for me, like, temptation's really hard. I mean, it could be any temptation, like, you know, Jesus says, like, there's no temptation that, like, you can't get out of. Like, you know, it's you can get out of it if you obey the Holy Spirit and you let it lead you. But that doesn't mean it's not strong at all. Because you have all these artists around you who, you know, their life and what means most to them is what they're creating and how they look to the world and how they look to people and how much money's in their bank account and, you know, how many girls they can sleep with and who's the hottest girl, who has the biggest rack. Like, no, seriously.
No, I know.
These are real
It's just funny.
conversations that I've even heard, like, you know, like, even around people we know. Like, I'm just being honest. And, like, that's just all they care about. That's all they care about. That's all that they live for.
Yeah.
And it's really hard being surrounded by that. And you kind of, obviously, there's a calling there. And, like, we're there for a reason. You know, I'm there for a reason if I'm in a situation like that. Hayd's there for a reason. That's God-given. Like, and who knows what that is, even if it's not something significant. Like, even just being there, like, having your presence there around those people. Oops. And, yeah, it's really hard, but it's also like a blessing, and like it's such a blessing. Yeah, it's just a blessing to be able to serve something so good like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, having fun. Like, we make music as our job, and we have so many friends that, you know, don't necessarily have the purpose and, like, fulfillment and contentment that we have, and, like, we get to help them potentially find that.
Yeah.
Because we know the fulfillment and the eternal contentment it's given us.
Mm-hmm.
So I also always look at it like that every day. Like, yeah, like, oh, how can I be a blessing to this person or this artist that I know, like, is struggling with this? And, like, I don't know. Because, yeah, the truth is, like, they live different lives. Like, they live crazy lives, and a lot of them are really empty and sad. And that's just the straight up truth about it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's how I look at it, as a positive way. But it's also hard, like, you know, obviously persecution is, like, a real thing amongst any group of people. When I say this, like, you know, it's so far, it's, like, to a small extent. But, you know, persecution's persecution. And, yeah, I've had to face persecution ever since, like, I've had success in the industry, like, with different artists. If they want to work with me or, like, XYZ, like, being associated with people who then kind of find out I'm a Christian or that I have a view about this that, you know, they feel strongly about or that they disagree about. And then they don't want to work with me anymore. And that happens a lot, I'm sure, in the industry. That is a very frustrating thing about it because, you know, I do still love what I do and making music and, like, I still do hold on to that as, like, a big part of who I am in my life. So it is still hard to, like, have to obey sometimes, you know, that, like, hey, this is what I believe. Like, regardless of me being pissed, because, like, oh, like, I really wanted to do that with them or whatever, but, like, they don't want to anymore because of this. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard, and it does make you angry at God sometimes. But then God does always, speak to you and like speaks to your spirit and like just puts you back centered.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be doing this and obeying this thing than doing something that is, that could potentially affect my relationship with God, or just somebody who is going to persecute you like that because you believe in something prosperous and that has so much love and kindness and that just has all those attributes in it. It's like, why would somebody I feel like that's the other thing. It's just like there's so much access that we have in the industry, and sometimes it really, as far as me, like it affects us, like in how we take things for granted. It's elephants in the room, so we gotta be honest.
Yeah, be honest, be vulnerable, get real.
Yeah, no, like for real, like I've had hard times with Nicole where like it would be like a week, it would even be 2 weeks, like I would just start letting in thoughts of like, I could go and date a hotter girl, or like what I think is hotter at the time, or like whatever. And like just these thoughts of greed and like wanting all of this, power, whatever, like just the access.
The freedom.
Yeah. And
of like hooking up with whoever you want, doing whatever you want.
Yeah, and just like wanting to experience that and whatever, like thinking that it's gonna fulfill you and stuff. And I forgot where I was going with that. What was I talking about it right before I mentioned that?
You were just talking about like just like the challenges you face within the industry with the fame and being a Christian within that realm.
Yeah. I mean, I was going somewhere like else with it. I totally just freaking forgot.
It's cool that you're honest though. Like truthfully, you've really encouraged me. Like, cause you just stick up for your faith so much, and
thanks.
It's really like encouraged me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. Like I'm sure, many certain Christians in the film industry, arts, whatever it is, like have like do deal with that if they're in a relationship and like. But maybe it's not. Maybe they have the burden of another sin or like temptation or whatever. Yeah. It's just really toxic, I guess. And like,
you were saying
it's just
the
hard to deal
gratitude thing, like you like not being grateful for what you have. That was your point. I think you were trying to make.
I was trying to make some. Just taking for granted like what you have because, just the access. Yeah, just like the access, and then taking for granted like what you do have, and then thinking you can get something that's even better, but then you get that and then you're with that thing for however long, and then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is even better. And then you're on to the next even better thing. Like, like just greed and the access is it's just so void. It's just like a pit. It's a pit you fall into, and it just distracts you from the spiritual things of life, which are sacred and more important and need to be pursued by every human being. And there's just so many distractions,
which most people wouldn't have that in a normal like the access that you guys have, and then having the faith that you have, like that would be hard for anyone. But
like I'll just have those thoughts and they'll be very strong, and I'm very honest with her about it. Like she knows about it whenever if I have those thoughts. But God always like pulls me back and like, like redeems those thoughts, whatever it is. But it really is. There really is a spiritual war, and that's the other thing that. Well, it's like
the enemy wants your soul, and wants you to. I mean, being in this industry, like I think God has blessed both of you guys so much, but also like the enemy's after you as well. Like he wants you to give in and fall into lust and temptation and fame and money, success, and all these things. And I mean, it definitely has been challenging in our relationship just because, I mean, it's hard. Like most normal people in a situation don't have access to thousands of people, don't have shows and have thousands of girls coming up to them after wanting to, hook up and do these things. And so it's challenging. But what has always and what will always hold me and David together is the Lord. And that's what our relationship was founded on, was our faith. And,
Amen. Come on.
And, you can seek after all those things in this life, but like me and David both know the value of marriage and of being with a spouse that's loves the Lord and sharing your faith and serving him together and stuff. And so
yeah, and it just is like, it's pretty crazy to think about, like, because I started feeling all that temptation like not until I started social media. And I remember like I would always pray, or like praying to God, like, oh, like, help me find a woman like that loves you, or like I prayed that when I started pursuing and following Jesus. Like, yeah, oh, and behold, Nicole came into my life. Like, but it's crazy, like the timing too, that she came into my life. Like, it was before everything, whatever. And like, yeah, it just makes you think, it's like, if I didn't have her and like everything that happened, yeah. So that's basically that. But yeah, no, like, she really is a gift from God. Like, God really gave me her, and she really, keeps me accountable, and we're honest with each other, and it's a real relationship. Because, and it also like I hate to think about it, but like, if I didn't have her, and like even everything happening and then me trying to find somebody, it's like,
Yeah.
that's
where I'm at.
yeah, I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that, but
yeah, the timing was crazy that we met, because it was literally right when a couple months before David,
when I started like making
really
music.
started pursuing music. And so through the craziness of his career, like, we had been dating for like almost a year when Miserable Man blew up and everything. And so we had developed our relationship and founded our relationship really on the Lord. And so I think that's literally what got us through that time, because that was so hard. Like, but yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that we're talking about it. I mean, it's definitely not like great to sit on here and like talk about these struggles, because it can be like hard to admit those things. But like, yeah, our relationship there's been really tough times through that, and anyone in David's position would feel that. But then on my end too, it's frustrating, because I'm like, I don't want to be devalued, just because there's access to, because I know what really matters, and I know my value, just as a person and significant other. And so it's been really hard, but it's also like totally strengthened us so much. And again, like, God's glory has just been amplified through it, because he's literally the reason we are together from the beginning and to this moment. Like, he's gotten us through every hard moment. And the more we lean into the Lord, the more we love each other, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool and comforting. And David's such a blessing too, because he continues to prove to me day and day, no matter what David struggles with, no matter what happens, like, I know that he loves the Lord, and I know that he loves me, and I know that he would do anything for me. And it's always going to come back to that. And I'm very grateful for how much he sacrifices for me and stuff. So yeah, he's pretty cool, I guess. All right. This is just kind of for your guys' fans, obviously, because there's a lot of people watching this that just love you guys. What advice would you give to a fan who is struggling with their mental health?
I would say self-care is really important, because I remember so many times, I mean, even recently, like when I wasn't sleeping, there's a lot of self-care neglections that were going on. And then once I started doing those things again, they definitely helped. But I know some people like do those things and they don't help, whatever. It's such a tricky question sometimes, because like, I think you really just have to identify why you're feeling the way you are, And I know there's some folks out there, maybe you're watching, that like you're like, oh, there is nothing, I just feel this way. But for those of you, like, you're anxious about something, you're depressed about something, it's really just identifying it and like figuring out what are the solutions to like your mental health thing going on. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like some things like I believe about mental health is like, I feel like we're so overly diagnosed amongst like at least my generation, like Gen Z, like it's just like therapists and everything are so quick to, oh, well, you have depression, like hop on these meds real quick, like you'll feel gas, like whatever. It's like
literally.
Like I understand that it does help a lot of people, but I don't know, because it's just like neurology, psychology, like the mind, like it's such a big uncharted territory. I mean, I'm not a medical professional, but like it is true. Like there's so many things about the mind that we don't know. Mm-hmm. And like, obviously I'm a Christian. Like I believe there's a spirit. I believe there's an unseen realm. There's an immaterial aspect of life. And I think a lot of mental health also is rooted in like a spiritual sickness. Like, obviously, I would never force anything about Jesus down anyone's throats or anything, like how Hayd was saying. Like, obviously, like, what I believe is the best doctor is Jesus. But sometimes, you know, like, for those of you that have gotten a doctor here on earth, like, that's okay, and they will help you. Like, there's so many things, like, that will help you. But I would say, like, time really does heal. And, like, it seems really bad, like, whatever it is. Like, I'm just thinking off things that I've struggled with. Like, I would be anxious about, you know, my future, or, like, I'm feeling super depressed. Like, if you're feeling a certain way and there's just, like, antagonizing thoughts that are, you know, keeping you up at night, or that are just on your mind, and like you just want to claw out your mind because it's so bad. Thoughts are temporary. Like, you're gonna have new thoughts as life goes on. Like, your emotions are always changing. That's why they're called emotions. Like, they're in motion all the time. Like,
bars.
Yeah, like it's
write a song about that.
Yeah. Like, just know, like, there's so many things that humans have been through for millennia, like mental health stuff. Like, read the Bible, bro. Like, the Bible's pretty gory. Like, there's a lot of gore. There's crazy stories in there. Like,
people have been going through it forever.
Yeah, like people with depression, but they're still, you know, devoted to the Lord. Like, all this crazy stuff that I feel like we'll get so hard on ourselves about. Like, so I don't know. That's really all I have to say about it, because
sure.
I don't know. I feel like that was such a bad answer, but
no, not at all. I thought that was a great answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of good.
I agree with you. Like, man, I'm no expert, but I think identifying what is causing your pain is like super helpful, because then you know kind of what to target. Like, my dad's a doctor, so I like stories from him, and like one of my cousins. I mean, we were talking about this, but like one of my cousins has schizophrenia, so like. I hear stories and see it like on a family level too, of like, man, mental illness is such a real thing, and it's just not cookie cutter. Like, there's not
that's why it's hard to answer sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard to answer that, because it's not like a cookie cutter answer. Because like I like, while I hold my faith like above all else, and I do think Christ brings healing, like, it's just not that simple sometimes.
No,
it's not. And I can't just look at someone and be like, oh, well, you just need to be a Christian and you won't experience it. Like, not at all.
But like you said earlier, like, I almost think being a Christian, you're more aware of your emotions. And like, I don't know, I preach that all the time, but like the stigma of like, oh, Christians can't struggle with mental health.
Not at all. Like, I was in such a like, I wrote that song Lost. Like, I felt so lost, and I was really depressed for a while. And so I like, first of all, like, of course it's such a real thing, and it's really, I have so much empathy because it's so sad. Like, and I hear it from my dad in the hospital. I see it with my cousin. Like, it's not a cookie cutter thing. Like, if you're able to identify where it's coming from, be it through a doctor, be it through a therapist, be it through Christ, like,
yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say. Therapists have really, I've been going to a therapist since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
They do really help.
We love therapy.
Yeah. Go do your therapy sessions, folks.
Yeah.
Go see a therapist,
If
everyone.
you're able to identify where it's coming from through one of those means, like that's awesome. Like I feel like maybe that's a good first step. And also
Yep.
I'll speak for myself, like if it's something as far as, I know, like time heals. You were saying that. If it's like a mental, like if it's like depression or sad, like a deep sadness, and that stems from something happening to you, or like a breakup or something, like time really does help. And I think I'll speak for myself. There's been instances in my life, like my first relationship, like I found out like my girlfriend was cheating on me, and like I was in such a low spot. And it was really a matter of perspective for me. I think even now, lots of times it's easy to like have such a narrow perspective and like zoom in really like on my issues and my problems and make things a bigger deal than they have to be.
Yeah.
And I forget just like to have like a bigger perspective and just understand like, man, like Lord willing, I live till I'm, old and have gray hair, but like, this is just one moment, 1 year of my life. And there's, hopefully many more. And so like taking a step back to quiet myself and regain my perspective is helpful. But it's just, there's no cookie cutter answer. Like, identifying it through one of those means, like, is helpful. Like have a bigger perspective. Like remember, time really does help. If it's something like a breakup or something where like there's pain that you feel, that like it really does like help time. It's really hard to answer that question, to be honest.
Hayd and David's music, because it will
if you're
help.
feeling sad, listen to David Kushner and Hayd, because maybe you'll be able to relate.
Yeah, they have some sad music. Awesome. Okay, well, we're just going to kind of wrap this up. But last, question about this whole thing, and it can be a very short answer. But does money, fame, and success fulfill you? Tell all the people, because that's what we're all after in this life. Most people, at least. It can be a simple answer, but
no. It definitely doesn't. I mean, we touched on this earlier on. It's a big rat race. Like everyone's chasing something, and maybe for us, like it's like fame or money or like a big house or stuff like that. And maybe it's that for a lot of people, but maybe it's different. Maybe it's like having a healthy relationship or having like. I don't know. Like it just could be anything. Yeah. Like it's just not fleeting. And like David said, I'd encourage anyone to ask bigger questions. Like, what is their purpose? Like, is God real? Why am I here? Like, I think asking bigger questions and seeking out answers is more important, because everything else
from dust will return to dust.
Yeah. Word. Like, perfect. It's just, it's fleeting. Like, it's just fleeting. So I'd encourage anyone, like ask deeper questions and again, I say that not from a place of mastery. Like I still have to I still get tempted and drawn into that of if I had a certain this much money, or if I had a big house of this, that would make me happy. And then it's we're at party, I mean, we really don't go to parties, but when we go to these big when we go to these social gatherings, or we just have friends who have so much money and they just are miserable. Yeah. They just are so miserable. And I say that, and it's easy to say that, and people can hear that and be whatever. Dude, these people are miserable, and it's so true. And it just goes for anything. It's all that stuff is fleeting, and I'd encourage anyone just ask deeper questions, ask the bigger questions, and seek them out. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Hayden Hubers and everything he said. It's cool to have as far as the positives, it's cool as a tool to be able to do certain things as artists and stuff, touring and just because it's touring, a lot of money's spent, and it's so fun, and I feel that's just kind of all money is,
Yeah, like
it's like a means to buy time. It's not really
exactly and
commodity.
Yeah, it's not like I was like, you get a big check and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm happy now. Or like, I'm happy.
See, that's funny because like I feel like people who don't have money like think they will more than people who do.
It definitely like cancels any financial stress, of course, because I mean that financial stress is just all money related. Like if you have a lot of money, then are you gonna be financially worried and stressed? No, like, yeah, like it definitely makes life easier in a lot of aspects.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, like I'm just going over the positives about it, but, yeah, like that, like all that cash, all that money, like it's gonna be dust. Like it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't fulfill you.
Yeah, it doesn't fulfill you. And I was thinking, I'll talk about things and I'll just get reminded of random stuff. It was just this funny quote. My friend in high school, it was this kid, like, he was like this big drug dealer hustler guy. And we were talking about this, like, oh, does money, because he was like hustling his drugs and he made like a couple grand in like a month or something. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, no, money won't make you happy at all. Like, blah, blah. And I was talking about like my dad and stuff and like people that I know that have made a lot of money before. And then my friend was like, bro, like for real though, listen though, like tell me you don't agree with this. Like I'd rather cry and be depressed in a Lamborghini than a Honda Civic.
I mean, he has a point.
And I was like, I think
money doesn't make you happy.
It was just funny. I just thought I'd bring it up.
But it does make life easier.
Yeah, it does definitely makes life easier. But it's not something to look.
If there's anything to like devote your time and invest in relationships with people.
Yeah.
And
exactly
like that's you're just not, you just can't take it with you when you die. And like, who's going to be with you when you die? Hopefully it's like the
and you
people
have all
that,
this money, but if you have no one to be with, like,
and even if it does like make you so happy and you have joy and all this stuff, like you're going to die one day. And it's just like, then what? And so that's why, like, I mean, if you're going to take the time to do anything, like, I'm not like saying don't work hard or try to reach something, but I mean, invest and cherish relationships and the people around you and ask bigger questions like about your purpose. And I feel like finding answers to bigger questions like that will be much more fulfilling to you than like success.
Amen. And the last thing I was just going to say to answer the question was, to touch on what I said, like the expectations. If you're expecting to be happy and all this like amazing stuff when you start making a lot of money, because there's definitely going to be people watching this, like you don't know it yet, but you're going to make a lot of money eventually in your life.
Entrepreneurs out there.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, like it's true. Like if you're going to work towards something, like you're going to have success in whatever scale that is, like super big or like, like whatever it is. Like it comes with a lot of responsibility and can be a detriment because I've experienced it. I know so many people that have. Yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It can really be a detriment to your life, which then you're going to have to reassess and handle. Mm-hmm. So please do not idolize it.
I love that. Good answer, guys. Well, this is kind of the wrap up, but
I feel like we've said that the last like four questions.
No. This is really midnight. The wrap up. Do you guys have any projects or releases coming up that you would like to share with anyone who's watching this?
Running from the daylight.
Yes.
Tell us,
That's all I'm gonna say.
Tell us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have new music coming out, and I'm still figuring out like with my label what's the best like way to go about releasing this stuff. But yeah, I haven't. Lost is the last song I put out, and that was like 2 or 3 months ago. So it's been like a hot second since I put out music, and I put out 3 songs all of last year. Like I really haven't put out that much music recently, but on my computer, I have like over a dozen songs like just done and ready to go. I've just been trying to figure out the best way to release them, if it's an album, if it's an EP, if it's just singles. But yeah, like I told myself that's a big goal this year. Like I want to put out over 12 songs this year, and it's gonna happen because the songs are done. So, yeah, hopefully it's January. So hopefully starting end of February or early March, like I'm going to release a song called When You Were Mine, which is like probably my favorite song I've ever written.
Good,
like
guys.
I should have said that as the answer.
It's so good. Yeah. If you want to cry, you're going to like this song.
Say that just before any of my songs. No, When You Were Mine, I love that song. And there's some other songs too that I like just mean so much to me. So I really believe it's the best music. And I'll say like, that's like what I was saying was a very cliche answer, but like a lot of the music is themed that's coming out. Like last year was really difficult for me and I felt really lonely and lost. And so a lot of these songs are just have that theme of loss and separating, like me leaving my family and friends. So like, there's so much emotion and like honesty in these songs. And so for that reason, I'm so proud of them. And I really believe they're really going to impact people. And, but yeah, I guess to like explain, like that's a lot of it is about loss and how to deal with that and like pain. And, I think it's just going to be really relatable to a lot of people. So I'm really excited to put that out. And my biggest goal this year is just to tour and play as many shows as I can. So, yeah, like we're going to tour, we're going to go to different continents and play a bunch of shows. So I'm really excited.
So cool.
Hopefully see you guys in person.
Yeah, everyone go see Hayd. He's amazing. Thank you, Hayd. We're so excited for your new music.
Thank you.
Which we've listened to it, by the way, and it's incredible, phenomenal.
Thank you.
Just so good. So you guys are gonna love it. David, do you have anything exciting coming?
Yes. I am now working. I released my first EP, and then I'm now working on my first ever album, 12 songs.
Woo! Let's go.
Yeah. So I'm excited for it, and that's all I'm working on this year, and trying to get on Hayd's level to finish songs, because I'm not that good.
Bro, I'm not that good at finishing songs either.
So yeah, I got some really cool ideas I'm finishing and gonna start recording here soon.
We wrote the song Daylight yesterday. I'm just gonna put it out there because I really believe in that song. Like, that's probably the best song that Jeremy, David, and I wrote, and like, I think that song's gonna be huge.
Me, Hayd, and
shout out to Jeremy.
It's January 22, 2023.
Sarcastic Sounds.
Daylight. Yeah. It's gonna be a big song.
Yeah, it's super cool. A lot of different sounds gonna be like sonically. A lot of different vibes will be in the album, and yeah, I'm excited to get working on it and finish it up. And yeah, I won't say that.
No. There's really exciting stuff.
He's got more exciting stuff coming up that he can't talk about, but it's like really, really exciting.
Media.
So everyone,
nothing. That would be a flex. I won't say that.
Say it. Say the flex.
I say it from like just a genuine place of excitement, like just that I'm doing.
Yeah, tell him.
No, yeah. So I'm writing or finishing 3 songs, like next month in like 2-3 weeks. With the lead singer of the Lumineers, which I'm really excited for. I've always looked up to them in their music when it came to like making music, and I can't believe it. So next month I'm working with him, the singer, and
very cool,
finishing some songs for
which is so cool, guys, because that's like when I met David, like if he could choose like his dream person to work with, it would be like the Lumineers. So his dreams are coming true.
Yeah, the first time I listened to Lumineers, it was Ophelia on SoundCloud in 7th grade, and I fell in love with it. Right as it came out, I was like, dude, who are these people?
Yeah. So cool. Well, that's so exciting. I'm so excited for both of you guys. There's a lot of stuff you guys didn't share about like exciting stuff coming up. But seriously, guys, go follow them. And I mean, most people who are watching this probably already follow them. But if you don't go follow them, follow along. It's going to be exciting. And then the last thing is, do you have merch and where can we find it?
Would you look at that?
Oh, crazy. They're actually wearing their merch, guys. That is the plug that we have.
I have... If you don't know who I am and you're watching this, my name is Hayd. So like on any social platform, you can just look me up and listen to my music, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, anything like that. Oh,
Whoa.
a helicopter.
Helicopter.
I'm curious if the mics can pick that up. Anyway, maybe it's another live PD chase you can watch.
Our amigos probably.
But no, this is merch that I made. I actually made this myself. It's called Head in the Clouds. It
So
says Head
cool.
in
You
the
have
Clouds.
it in
Well, obviously
purple
you
as
can see
well,
that because
too.
you guys can probably read. But it's haydmusic.com. So there's a bunch of different merch you can buy and see like upcoming shows and all that good stuff. So genuinely, anyone listening to this, if you made it this far into the podcast, I don't even know what time it's at now.
People are loyal.
I believe it, but I mean, we've been going for like
2.5 hours.
Certainly over 2 hours, I
Yeah.
would guess. But if you made it this far, thank you for listening and hearing us out. Everyone has a story, so I'm glad you guys. I'm really grateful that you guys listened to mine and David, and thank you, obviously, Nicole, for having us. And also, if you made it this far, if you're in LA, there's ice cream on me. So there you go.
Bum Send tomorrow night, 10 p.m.
Meet us there. All
It's
right,
gonna take
David.
Nicole a little longer than tomorrow to edit this.
This will be out in 2 weeks. So,
Free.
Right, you gotta give her some time to edit this one too.
For sure.
David,
Yeah, so
talk to us about your merch.
This is just a sneak peek of what will be available soon. I'm doing a whole merch drop thing for it. This is one of the pieces, Mr. Forgettable.
It's actually so cool.
It's
Thanks.
amazing.
And then we'll have Mr. Forgettable hoodie. We'll have some more Miserable Men merch, and then I am going. I'm also dropping a T-shirt
with his face on it,
with
and
my
it's so
face
cute.
on it in
I
the
have
most
one.
non-narcissistic, egotistical way.
It's a cool picture of David.
It's just a cool portrait that I love
Yeah.
of
He looks
myself.
sexy in it.
And
He
if
does look
anybody-
sexy in it.
Thanks, guys. If anybody wanted to rock my face on their, body, it'll be available soon.
Everyone. So,
bunch of tattoos on
HaydMusic.com
you.
and DavidKushner.com. Is that your website?
No.
All right, tell them.
What is your website?
I don't know. I forgot.
Just
Go
look
to
up David
not-
Kushner on Google. You'll find
And
him where you need
his
to find
Instagram,
him.
link in your bio. Link in his bio on
Yeah, link in
Instagram.
my bio.
Also
Awesome.
follow Nicole.
Elephants in the Room.
Yeah, Elephants in the Room. Nicole Donna.
Nicole.Donna. You got it, Hayd.
On Instagram and TikTok. But this has actually been so much fun.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of different stuff.
Yes, we did.
And it's just been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming, guys.
Thanks for having us, Nicole.
I think we
You
should.
guys are amazing.
I think we should go to the store and buy some ice cream.
I
after
agree.
this.
Ice cream and cookies?
What's
I would
open, bro? It's like
love
1 a.m.
that.
Oh,
I'm sure there's Rouse
something
open. We'll
open.
find something. It's LA.
But yeah, well, thanks for listening, guys. If you made it this far, we're very grateful for you. Hayd, David, it was an honor to have you guys on the podcast. In like a couple years, we'll have you guys back on. We'll revisit this episode.
Word.
If you guys want to support this podcast, you can follow me. Give it a rating, share it on your social media. If you want to support them, follow them on their social media, Hayd Music and David Kushner. And to finish off this episode, I'll ask, what elephants do you guys have in your rooms? My name is Nicole. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you guys next week. Woo. And now clap.